Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Those who are there in the lobby, may I request you all to walk in, please. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I cordially welcome all the dignitaries and delegates to the conclave. The CFO's role in integrating governance, sustainability and value creation. My request to all of you have assembled here and those who joined us online to settle down as we are about to start the program shortly. There are a few mandatory reminders that I would like to give before we get on with the conclave. In the program schedule today that has been shared with you, 4 different QR codes are given. And if you look at the bottom of the page, there are 4 QR codes given. You can see that they are for 4 different purposes. One is, of course, to see the detailed profile of each of the speakers who will be addressing to you today. We will project a brief of these profiles here, but you can see a detailed profile there. Then the next QR code is for sending in your questions in case you have any. There is our team which will collate the questions and they will hand it over to me and I'll give it to the speakers. Thirdly, we're going to launch the CFO forum today. So the third QR code is for you to know about that forum. There is a beautiful video. You can see that. And the last one is very, very important. This is for providing the feedback about the conclave today. I'll request all of you to take a few minutes of your time before you leave this hall and provide us your valuable feedback. So these are some of the reminders and this I thought I'll share with you. And one last request, please keep your mobile phones on silent mode if you're not switching it off. Kindly put it on silent mode. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Keeping up with time in the true tradition of MMA. I once again cordially welcome all the distinguished speakers, dignitaries and delegates to this unique seminar on the theme, a conclave on the theme, the CFO's role in integrating governance, sustainability and value creation. May I now invite the dignitaries to take their place on the dais for the inaugural session. Mr. K. Mahalingam, President MMA, Mr. T.G. Suresh, Chartered Accountant Suresh and Balaji, Mr. V. Shankar, Founder Camps, Director Access Investments Private Limited, and Group Captain R. Vijay Kumar, VSM Executive Director MMA. Let's welcome them with a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Morning, sir.
How are you?
Fine, sir. Viewers watching us online, you're going to have an exciting conclave today. Thank you for joining us online. Ladies and gentlemen, all good things begin with divine blessings. May I now request the dignitaries on the dais to start the conclave by lighting the lamp Kuthu Vilakku. For doing us that favor of starting the program with lighting the Kuthu Vilakku. Going ahead with the conclave today, first the welcome address. Mr. K. Mahalingam is the President MMA. May I have his AV please.
Mr. Mahalingam, an alumnus of NIT Trichy and IIM Calcutta, has 35 years of experience as a transformative leader and investor. He led T.S. Mahalingam and Sons into a respected brand and diversified into financial services, real estate, and angel investing. Mr. Mahalingam, a mentor and active investor with Chennai Angels, he supports aspiring entrepreneurs with guidance and funding.
May I now invite Mr. Mahalingam to deliver the welcome address, please.
Good morning, everybody. So I think Group Captain Vijay Kumar style, we have started 2 minutes in advance or 3 minutes in advance. Scheduled for 9:30 and it's 9:25, I think. With Mr. Vijay Kumar, all of us have been on our toes all the time. Yeah. Good morning, everybody, and warm welcome to all of you. It's great to see the auditorium almost full at 9:30 in the morning on a Saturday. That shows how much interest this is inspired in people to attend this. It is my privilege, honor, and pleasure to welcome the delegates and deliver the opening remarks at this very, very special CFO Conclave 2024 with the theme, the CFO's role in integrating governance and sustainability and value creation, being organized by the Madras Management Association. Vijay Kumar, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first of its kind CFO Conclave? Vijay Kumar? It's the first of its kind CFO Conclave? First of it. Oh, so it's first of its kind, and we are so happy to see the response. To welcome the dignitaries on the stage, our chief guest, Mr. V. Shankar. Honestly, I wasn't sure I was going to come for this welcome address, and when Group Captain Vijay Kumar told me that something like this is happening, I was really tempted because the amount of CFOs and knowledge and chartered accountants here. And secondly, and thirdly, Mr. Shankar being chief guest is something I was looking forward to, because I personally look up to Mr. Shankar in many, many ways. Thank you, Shankar, for doing this for Madras Management Association. And I must mention that Mr. Shankar, in many capacities, has been a big, big supporter of the Madras Management Association. Thank you for that also, Shankar. Yeah. And Mr. Guest of Honor and Knowledge Partner, Mr. Suresh, thank you so much for taking all the effort of putting this together with the Madras Management Association. And my welcome becomes much sweeter because we just discussed that he's a regular customer of ours in our business. Thank you, Mr. Suresh. Thank you so much for doing this for us, and welcome. Really looking forward to this convention and your speech also, sir. It's really something we really look forward to hear. Also take this opportunity to welcome all the distinguished speakers who kindly accepted our invitation and joined us to share their valuable insights. I'm happy to note that the last count, over 200 CFOs, chartered accountants, finance professionals and academicians from various organizations have joined us for this meeting from all over Tamil Nadu and Pondicherry, and a large number of delegates are participating virtually from all over the country. That is the power of this event, and that's the power of Group Captain Vijay Kumar and his team at MMA. For the benefit of our guests, a few numbers on MMA. Started in 1956, 8,000 members, 10 chapters, 14 continuous awards for the best local management association in the country MMA has had. So, as you can say, we are clearly the best by a mile. And it's thanks to events like this and knowledge sharing sessions like this that MMA has been able to achieve so much and be right up there as the best management association. As regards this conclave, honestly, I am a novice to this domain, which is finance. I'm a salesperson and a marketing person. But watching from a distance and knowing people like Shankar and Laksa, our senior vice president here, who are all experts in that bench. Shankar incidentally was a pioneer in what they call fintech today. So I think he was the first fintech in the country, I would say, Cam. So having him speak to us is a really big honor, actually. So I think the CFO role, as I see it, has evolved gradually, rather rapidly recently, from being of a gatekeeper, a conscience keeper, to a more strategic role. And the CFO's role is seen increasingly important in multiple facets, given the fact that regulations are getting complex and tighter, and given the fact that compliance is becoming very, very critical for organizations across domains. I think the CFO's role, both in terms of control and strategy, is going to keep increasing. The evolution of digital technology has created some threats, but with it comes some great opportunities. I'm sure conventions like this, sessions like this will help throw light on the role of the CEO in sustainable development, etc. So it's really a great opportunity for all of us to be here and learn from this August gathering and from the speakers who are going to speak here. We are indeed fortunate to have amongst us a plethora of financial experts who researched, conceptualized, worked and implemented numerous sustainability initiatives in their organization, and all beautifully strung together and put together by Mr. Suresh. Thank you again, sir. I once again welcome my colleagues from the management committee, past office bearers of MMA, and partner organizations who joined us today, and viewers from all over the globe watching the program live. I also thank PwC, PKC, and SAB ProServe for being part of this effort. Along with other delegates, look forward to an enriching day of learning. I'm sure by the end of it, all of us will definitely be at least a little wiser. Thank you and welcome again.
Thank you, Mr. Mahalingam, for setting the tone. Overview of the conclave. Mr. T.G. Suresh is Chartered Accountant and partner Suresh and Balaji. May I have his AV, please?
Mr. T.G. Suresh is a chartered accountant and the founder of Suresh and Balaji Chartered Accountants. With over 30 years of experience, he specializes in taxation, valuation, and restructuring, and has successfully represented clients before tax authorities. Mr. T.G. Suresh is a respected faculty member and has authored widely used books on tax. He is also the chairman of the International Fiscal Association's SRC and has contributed extensively to tax policy discussions.
May I invite Mr. Suresh to provide an overview of the conclave today.
Good morning. So I'll just make this overview a little bit more informal. I will just say the making of this program. I will put it that way because I've seen making of Pushpa 2 will come shortly. See, the last week of October, my very good friend, Group Captain Jay Kumar called. See, there's going to be a CFO conclave. The stage is set on December 16th. I will leave for 1 week. I know October you will be very busy. We'll talk in the first week of November. Since MMA's due date is also 31st of October, and the due date for filing tax returns got extended by 1 week. And of course, all of us, unfortunately, our CFOs then immediately will relax and they will then will refix the 7th of November. So therefore, you spared me till 7th of November. And of course, he told, I know I don't want you to trouble on 8th November. I will start troubling from 10th November. But I was slightly smarter than him. On 10th November, so I called him before he calls, because he normally calls at 8:30 in the morning, or sometimes even 6:45 also. So therefore, no, he knows I get up at 4 o'clock, so therefore that's not a problem. So I told him, I have my daughter's engagement, my son's engagement on November 14th, 17th, and I have to travel to Bangalore and come. So therefore, till 17th November, he said, I won't disturb. So 18th November, I kept quiet because my wife was very particular. See, you are saying office. You have done nothing for anything. You are not, I was nothing only. So therefore, I need a break. I don't know how to tell him. Because he was already kind enough to give so much of time. So without informing him, I went to West Godavari. And luckily, most of the time, thanks to Meta, my WhatsApp account was also closed by him for 1 day. And of course, most of the time, network was also not available. After a day, I just told him, sir, I've come to West Godavari. So what he did was, you don't worry anything, you just only tell the speakers, I will manage everything. No, sir, I know about that. So then, from there, I just simply used to watch when my wife was sleeping. So then I used to call all the CFOs. We gave them 17 topics. But on the last week of October, the moment he proposed this particular topic, when I was going for a cycling, so on that day, the TVS Group CFO, Mr. Desikan, was walking along with his wife, because I didn't spare him there. Sir, we are planning one CFO conclave. I first asked him the question, are you there on December 14th? He didn't know why I'm asking this question. He said yes. Then I told him block that day. So this is the program. I will send the topics and other things. So that's when the student is ready, teacher appears. When you're ready for the program, see, same day. The next day morning, when we discuss about the next day, I'm meeting the group CFO of TVS Motors. Then I spoke to my good friend MP, has got no choice. He's the closest friend for 30 years as CFO. I closely known him. So since I'm involved in the topics, some of the topics had the word tax in it. Immediately MP said, TG, idhula nariya tax in the vaartha irukku, enna vidru. I said, no problem. You decide the topic, I'll put in the topic. No problem at all. So anyhow, he had a program after his session, he's got one more program. Said, எனக்கு அந்த 12 to 1 slot மட்டும் கொடுக்க முடியுமா? நீ என்ன slot வேணும் நீங்க எடுத்துங்க, ஒன்றும் ப்ராப்ளம் இல்லை. You tell me the topic. So then 2 speakers already fixed. When I gave the topic to the many CFOs who I sent, quite surprisingly, interestingly, all of them wanted sustainability. I was only ennaale sustain panna mudiyalama. So then I had to first figure it out. So TVS Motors, they said, so I was very surprised. All leadership heads of TVS Motors are discussing out of the 17 topics, which topic we should discuss. Now look at the way in which they plan. And they all came to a conclusion, ESG should be our focus. Green initiative should be our focus. So first topic, please, and that is how that topic happened. So MP told, TG, I think he didn't talk about this, but of course, who is going to govern, NFRA or ICI? That's a different battle. We don't know. But he said, NFRA SA 600 is very important for the industry. That is something we should do. It's not for practicing, but CFO should also know it, and the entire finance team should know it. We'll do it. The second topic was done. So these 2 topics, of course, all of you know that. So I don't want to get into that. How I'm just making how this came. And of course, my friend Skanda Prasad, we used to play cricket with him. He is my student. So we used to play cricket. So therefore, I didn't have much of I just said because you are from Babag. So I think maybe sustainability things are going to be there. But I just want you to choose a topic. Because don't say sustainability because it's also been taken by somebody. Sir, can I talk on future of work during the time? Because everybody talks about will AI take over? Will we get any work? All those things. But how the finance team should change? I said, fantastic. But only thing what he said was, I may not be available on town. See, people cannot escape from MMA for this point. We had one program March 2nd on international taxation. One person talked from Vienna, one person talked from Delhi. Across the world we can talk, no problem at all. And you will not even know that whether they are physically present or not. That's the kind of infrastructure MMA has got. I can do any program from anywhere. And today morning, he sent a message. So 11 AM is too hot for me. So both of us are confused. What is he saying? Is he saying that he is not going to come for the session? Because we also had a group chairman to factor this network connectivity and all. That's a different story. But what he was saying, then I just called him. Hey, Scandy, what are you saying? No, sir, I have to catch the flight at 11 o'clock. I don't want the program to get delayed. What I was only saying is that 11 o'clock I should be left. I told him this is MMA. We'll start at 9:25, we'll start at 9:25. 11 o'clock your session, you can leave at 10:50 because we also have a session chairman who will summarize for 20 minutes. Don't worry about it. You can leave exactly the time you mentioned. So, I mean, as Mr. Mali was saying, that's what the group captain is included in us. 9:25 is 9:25. That's all. Simple as that. 11 o'clock, 11 o'clock. So then I was just, we are also discussing about what is India the statistics is China's way? Are we really growing? The shocker of a GDP came. Inflation was too high. So in these circumstances, what is very important is how should a CFO manage the growth and the cash flows? This is one of the topics we thought we should do it because even before this GDP data was released, there is a sense of feeling that the high values goods are moving very well. So if you look at the booking of DL for other things, if your property is 5 crores, 10 crores, booking is not a problem. So today the economy's problem is not the top end, right? Your sales at the top level are growing, the pent-up demand, whatever name you want to call. But the struggle is only at the lower end. So therefore we do not know about this, and therefore we thought we should have how to manage the growth and cash flows in this, because we are talking about Trump, what will he do? We are talking about the war which has never ended. We will not know when it will come to an end. So until these uncertainties, our session immediately after lunch is going to be handled by Reddington CFO S.V. Krishnan, and how to manage the cash flows in the uncertain times. Then of course, right from the Airtel days, I know Jagan. So I immediately told him about, yes, we have a CFO conclave. So he said, sir, I'm Bangalore, I'm not sure whether I'm going to come to Chennai or not. No problem. You can be in US also, not a problem. You don't worry. You ought to be there at that time, we can organize the program. But anyhow, he said, yes, already traveled to Chennai, is already there. Oh, he said, I want to speak on the digital transformation and how it has to be done in the case of finance. Of course, any program of mine will be incomplete without a taxation. So therefore, Pradeep Narayan will dwell upon the various models, finance models, business models have got developed. So under this changing business models, how it is going to impact its tax is going to be, his thoughts on this going to be shared by both Pradeep and Mother. So whenever our office asks a doubt on Ind AS, I always tell them only one thing. நீ இண்டஸ் டவர் ஷேர்ஸ் வாங்கணுமா வேணாமா நீ கேளு, இண்டேஸை பற்றி கேட்காத. இண்டேஸ் பற்றி கேட்குன்னா ஒரே ஒரு நிமிஷம் தான், டக்குன்னு I just used to call Arun Rajagopal of PwC. So whenever doubt, say our guys have got some doubt on Ind AS. And of course, I don't think anybody else is more competent to talk about the reporting and compliance of ESG. This is how we really coordinate the theme, arrange the speakers and other things. Allow me a couple of minutes of time to talk about, though of course, Molly was talking about two things. Of course, is such a very, very phenomenal president of MMA. Is there any business leader in India who is not known to me? I do not know. Everyone he knows. And he is able to bring any person, not by just a message is enough. That is the power of the president of MMA. And of course, I just shared him one very important thing, that I've been transacting with this company for more than 30 years, because all my second-hand, my cars were sold, not bought, sold because I don't buy any second-hand car, but all my two-wheelers, only one gentleman handles that for more than 25 years, Bhuvan from his office. And of course, Cams has all himself put, there cannot be a better person than a keynote address than Shankar. So you would have heard about a company called CAMS. The CFO of that company is also my student. Ram Charan is my student. Of course, the current CFO, I don't know whether he was CFO when he was there at him. As he will rightly introduce, a fintech or Vartha India the Karan CAMS, and there is no better app person than him as a keynote speaker for this. So I had an opportunity through my family friend Prem Kumar to just interact with him because he was looking for some kind of a support. But 24 hours is too long a time for Shankar, because by the time I could reach out to him, he said, Suresh, I think, Prem told about you, but I think it's already fixed. Maybe some other future time we'll try to work. Maybe 2025 we'll get an opportunity to work. And of course, if I don't talk about my friend, and of course, definitely you can, anyone who interacts with him, Group Captain Chikumar is just quite amazing and phenomenal. How somebody can, without giving an impression that is just behind you, and still somebody can do it, na? Chikumar. சார் நீங்க உங்க ஹாலிடே என்ஜாய் பண்ணுங்க, ஒன்றும் ப்ராப்ளமே இல்லை. அதாவது அப்படி சொல்லுவார் ஆக்சுவலா. ஆனால் இந்த வாட்ஸ்அப்பில் மட்டும் உங்களுக்கு டைம் கிடைக்கும் போது பாருங்க. சரி, தெர் இஸ் ஒன் இது இருக்கும் ஆக்சுவலாக. ஒரு பையனை வந்து ஒரு அப்பா வந்து, ஐ ஹோப் தட் மோஸ்ட் ஆஃப் அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்ட் தமிழ். ஒரு பையன் வந்து ரொம்ப இது பண்ணிட்டே இருப்பான் ஆக்சுவலாக. ஸோ ஐம் மேபி ஸ்லைட்லி டேக்கிங் couple of minutes extra because Shankar told me that you can take that 5 minutes extra, so I'm taking that advantage of that. And எங்களுக்காக ஒரு Shankar doesn't know one thing, எங்கள் கடையெல்லாம் மைக் குத்தா ரொம்ப டேஞ்சர் அப்படின்னு. வந்து கிளாஸ் 6 மணிக்கு ஆரம்பித்தா 2 மணி வரைக்கும் நான் ஸ்டாப்பாக எடுப்போம் நாங்கள். ஸோ anyhow, since he got that leverage, because we always stick on to the time, but he gave that small leverage to me. ஒரு பையனுக்கு வந்து டிவி பார்க்கக்கூடாது, எதுவுமே மொபைல் பண்ணக்கூடாதுன்னு ஒரு அப்பா சொல்லிருப்பாரு. அவனுக்கு ஏதாவது ஒரு கேம் ஒன்று கொடுப்பாரு, டக்குன்னு போட்டு ஒரு பசில் ஒன்று கூட்டு வந்துடும் ஆக்சுவலாக. இன்னொன்று கொடுப்பாரு, உடனே போட்டு வந்துடும். என்ன பண்ணுறதுன்னு தெரியாமல் என்ன பண்ணுவார்னா, இவனுக்கு ஏதாவது வேலை கொடுக்கணும்னு சொல்லிட்டு ஒரு வேர்ல்டு மேப் எடுத்துட்டு அதை ஃபுல்லும் கிழிச்சு போட்டு அப்படி தூக்கி போட்டு இந்த வேர்ல்டு மேப்பாக பண்ணிடுவா அப்படிம்பாரு. ஸோ இந்த பையன் திடீர்னு பார்த்தா ஒரு 2 நிமிஷத்தில் வந்து மேப்பை பண்ணிட்டு வந்துடும். அப்பாவுக்கு அவ்வளோ ஷாக், என்னடா அது இவ்வளோ காம்ப்ளிகேட்டட் பாயிண்ட்டை எப்போ இவன் 2 நிமிஷத்தில் முடிச்சிருப்பான் அப்படின்னு பார்த்தா ஆக்சுவலாக யாசிம் ஹவு டிட் யூ ஃபினிஷ் திஸ்? அப்பா அவன் வேர்ல்டு மேப் பின்னாடி வந்து மனுஷனோட ஃபோட்டோ இருந்தது. அந்த அவனோட மனுஷன் ஃபோட்டோ பண்ணிட்டான், பின்னாடி வேர்ல்டு மேப் வந்தது, வசுதேவ குடும்பம். அதுதான் மோடி சொல்கிறார் ஆக்சுவலாக. ஸோ இதுக்கு என்ன சம்மந்தம் அப்படின்னா, இவர் நான் என்கேஜ் பண்ணிட்டா என்ன பண்ணேன் ஊர்லேருந்து ஆக்சுவலாக, சார் இவர் தான் ஸ்பீக்கர், இவங்க தான் ஸ்பீக்கர், இவங்க தான் ஸ்பீக்கர், ஐ வில் ஜஸ்ட் அவளுடைய ப்ரொஃபைல், இமெயில் ஐடி, ஃபோன் அதெல்லாம் நான் வந்து சும்மா ஒரு கொடுத்தாச்சு. ஒரு நாள் அவர் கொஞ்சம் இது பண்ணல, என்கேஜ் பண்ணல, ஆனால் நாளைக்கு கொடுத்துறேன் சார் அப்படின்ட்டு. ஒரு ½ an hour வாட்ஸ்அப்பில் எனக்கு மெசேஜ் அனுப்பிச்சார், சார் நீங்கள் ஹாலிடே இருக்கீங்க, ஐ டோன்ட் வாண்ட் டிஸ்டர்ப் யூ, நீங்கள் பாருங்கள் அப்படின்னா எல்லாருடைய ப்ரொஃபைல், இது ஃபோன் நம்பர் எல்லாமே எடுத்து அவங்கள கிளிக் பண்ணால் அவங்கள பற்றி ஜாதகமே வச்சிருக்காரு. That is the kind of this thing, quite unbelievable, but I will tell you, he will be behind you without even giving a smallest indication of his behind you. Unbelievable. நீங்கள்லாம் எல்லாரும் அவர் ஏஜ்னு கேட்டால் நீங்கள் எல்லாரும் கெஸ் பண்ணி சொன்னால் ஒரு 35 அப்படிம்பீங்க ஆக்சுவலாக, என்ன? But phenomenal. I think it's a great privilege to work with you, sir. Thank you very much. I am sure that at the end of the day, I don't want to talk much about this. I'm sure I consciously wanted to avoid talk about each topics and all those things. I just want to keep it slightly different because MMA is different, our programs are different, and this overview is also, I thought, should be different. I'm sorry if it is not conventional, but we always want to break the traditional convention. Thank you very much. I'm sure you will enjoy the program.
Thank you, Mr. Suresh. Your overview was not only different, the way you've told how you identified speakers, I think it was much more interesting than how the cast was identified for Pushpa 2. Please come.
Yeah. So sorry, I'll be failing in my duty in not mentioning few names. First, of course, my parents, because I lost my mother recently, and she'll be extremely happy to bless us, both me and my father's 10th anniversary is day after tomorrow. I'm sure the SAP roster, the company is mentioned that they were the founders, not for the namesake. They have done a lot of work in this particular company. I will be failing in duty if I don't mention them. Today, incidentally, is the first anniversary of Mr. R. Shivakumar. In fact, Anusha is here. She wanted to do a program in memory of him today because being his death, unfortunately, it could not happen. It's going to happen on 21st. Anusha, the entire program today is Shivakumar's memorial one. So, I mean, so most of us know, and of course, incidentally, is more appropriate because he also happens to be the classmate of Group Captain Vijay Kumar. So, and of course, many people have been knowing. And of course, for this program to be successful, can you imagine somebody going around every day 108, Pradakshina with Anjaneer, and that's my wife, and she wanted this program more successful, so she was going every day praying around. And of course, he's also my guru, because without him, what I am today is because of Anjaneer only. Of course, the last but not the least, my office created one habit. Every Saturday we go to Lord Tirupati Balaji. Every Saturday we go in our articles. Take the afternoon train, go there, do a Anga Pradashanam, come back, because free darshan is there for the Anga Pradashanam those days. Every week he used to go, and for bigger work only I engage him. And without these four and my gurus, I am not here. So thank you, and all this good about this program dedicated to them. Any missing in this program, give it to us. Thank you very much.
So thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. He's talked so much about Group Captain Vijay Kumar. So who is Group Captain Vijay Kumar? May I have his AV, please?
Group Captain R. Vijayakumar, retired, VSM, is the Executive Director of the Madras Management Association since 2007, leading the association to win the Best Management Association Award for 14 consecutive years. Group Captain Vijay's dedication earned him the Vishisht Seva Medal and multiple commendations in the Indian Air Force. He holds an LLB and 2 master's degrees. Group Captain Vijay is also a former international golfer and serving on various committees like St. John Ambulance Association and PS Matriculation School, Mylapore.
May I invite Group Captain Vijay Kumar for a special announcement, please.
Good morning. Too many things about MMA. And anyway, it's a pleasure to see you, so many of you there, and it's my privilege to also announce about the MMA CFO Forum. The MMA CFO Forum is a pioneering initiative aimed at fostering a community of financial leaders dedicated to driving excellence in corporate finance governance. This forum would serve as a platform for CFOs and financial professionals to engage in thought leadership, share insights, and address challenges in areas such as digital transformation, ESG, which Suresh has been mentioning regularly, general management, and risk management. Through expert-led sessions, collaborative discussions, and mentoring, this forum seeks to empower financial leaders to excel and share their knowledge, fostering innovation and sustainability. By connecting minds and ideas, the MMA CFO Forum is committed to empower the financial professionals. May I have the AV, please? Planned quite a bit, we'll get to know, and all about CFO Forum. Just scan it and you can read it. Now I request Mr. Shankar, the Chief Guest and other dignity, to step forward, do the honor of launching officially the CFO Forum. I request MP Vijay Kumar sir also join me on stage. So we got some outstanding people to really do this work for us. We will have some interesting events happening to you month after month.
Thank you, gentlemen, for launching the MMA CFA forum today. I'm sure in times to come it will be much more sought after and do a lot of work. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. V. Shankar is the founder, CAMS, and Director, Axis Investments Private Limited. May I have his AV, please?
Mr. V. Shankar is the founder of Computer Age Management Services, CAMS, and Director of Axis Investments Private Limited, focused on proprietary and angel investments. An IIT Chennai and IIM Calcutta alumnus, he co-founded CAMS and Sterling Software, both major players in India's financial and IT sectors. Mr. Shankar is a board member at Credit Mantri, IIM Calcutta Innovation Park, and IIT Madras Incubator, and has held leadership roles in TI Chennai and the Chennai Angels. Mr. Shankar is a mentor to startups and established organizations through Axis Investments.
It's my privilege now to invite Mr. Shankar to deliver the keynote address.
My friend Mali, Mr. Suresh, Mr. Vijay Kumar, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Before I go into my prepared address, we were reflecting on the role of head of accounts, finance, whatever you want to call it. It's called different names over the years. And many of us here, I can see some white hair, so you're familiar with the way things used to be. There has been a massive sea change. The sea change is led by expectations of governance, expectations beyond merely what you would traditionally look at the finance and accounts role, to the extent that I think that a CFO is pretty much half a CEO now. Trusted consigliere of the CEO. CEO cannot take a step without having him by his side, using him as a bouncing board. I think it's a very responsible position, and one that at least the new generation has been able to grow into, and I hope that this only bodes good for this profession and this community going forward. Anyway, today's topic is one that is reshaping organizations and redefining our roles as financial leaders. I compliment MMA. It's a wonderful topic. I might not have thought of such a topic, but Mr. Suresh, thank you. I feel privileged to share my thoughts on this subject with this august audience. As I said, gone are the days when the CFO's primary responsibility was managing accounts, or spreadsheets, or budgets, or quarterly earnings. These things are second order or third order items hereafter. Today, the role of the CFO is something far more strategic. You are architects of sustainable futures, you are custodians of trust, and you are enablers of long-term value. I'll repeat the words because I think it is very important for us to internalize that. We are architects of sustainable futures. We are custodians of trust and enablers of long-term value for the organizations we work for. The governance, sustainability are converging, and value creation will be one of the results of that. This has become the cornerstone of modern business, and you as CFOs are at the absolute center of this transformation. Let's begin with governance. Governance, the very definition of governance has changed over the years. Can we have the door closed, please? Thank you. Let's begin with governance, the foundation on which trust and credibility are built. Strong governance ensures that your organizations operate ethically, transparently, and responsibly. Stories of problems caused by lack of any of these, lack of transparency, lack of governance, we hear so much about them. We don't hear about the organizations that work silently in the background, reaching excellence in all these spheres, because there is no story there, right? But there are those, and I compliment such organizations. As CFOs, you are not only responsible for ensuring compliance with regulatory requirements, and that is a different subject altogether. You can have a seminar on how those have evolved over the years, but also embedding governance into the DNA of your organizations. See, compliance and governance is not an end result. It is a result of your body, your very culture becoming one of governance. That is the only way you can sustain the culture of governance. So it's your job to create robust systems that prioritize accountability and transparency. Consider the examples of companies that survived or even thrived during downturns, right? We've had 2 or 3 major downturns in the last decade or two. Many of them had one thing in common: strong governance. See, investors love companies where governance is strong because there are no surprises coming out for them. They know that anything that happens, they will be fully transparent and fully disclose exactly what's happening. They trust the companies to act with integrity, and that trust translates into resilience and finally long-term value. Governance, when done right, it's not a shackle. It doesn't bind you. It doesn't constrain you. Rather, it's an enabler. It attracts capital. Even in the history of listed companies in India in the last 10 years, you can see slowly that value is ascribed to governance. A significant portion of value is ascribed to governance, not just the financial results. Good governance attracts capital, builds stakeholder confidence, and lays the groundwork for sustainable growth. I want to move on to sustainability itself. It's not a feel-good factor or choice anymore. It is a compulsion. It is part of your business. The world today is demanding more than just financial returns. Investors, customers, and I want to emphasize that customers, those of us who are export-facing particularly, will understand the requirements of sustainability coming from clients abroad, and employees. In many modern day companies, employees are very vocal about the need for sustainability. Maybe not so much in India, but certainly abroad you hear of these stories. And you are expected to address the environmental and social aspect of your business. Sustainability, in fact, has become a driver of competitive advantage, and it's a key risk management area. As CFOs, you play a very important role in integrating sustainability into corporate strategy. It is not an add-on that you add at the end, saying, oh, by the way, sustainability. Sustainability, like governance, has to be part of your organizational culture as time passes. Importantly, I think we have to come up with a framework to quantify ESG metrics, ensure that they are tied to financial goals, and communicate these outcomes in a language that people understand. Your board must understand it, your shareholders, your investors must understand it, your employees must understand it. I'm taking an example of Unilever here, mainly because at one time I used to work for Unilever and I admired the company. Unilever's global commitment to sustainability. By embedding sustainability into its business model, the company reduced costs, enhanced brand loyalty, and opened new markets. There is great power in aligning purpose with profitability. So the challenge in this area is clear. Bridge the gap between sustainability narratives and what you see on the ground in terms of impact. There has been a lot of talk about greenwashing. What is greenwashing? Greenwashing is when there is a gap between the narrative and the outcome. Sustainability must inspire, of course. It's inspirational. But it must deliver tangible, measurable results. That is also becoming important. Greenwashing should no longer be a term that is used in polite society. Finally, let's talk about value creation. In today's world, value creation is no longer just about shareholder returns. It's about delivering value to all stakeholders, employees, customers, communities, and the planet. Right? You may be a mining company. What are you doing? You're plundering the planet. You have to find some way of making the planet whole. So these are things that are now becoming part of your business reality. So, digital transformation is enabling CFOs to move beyond reactive decision making to proactive, insight-driven strategies. By integrating financial and non-financial data, you can drive decisions that serve broader business objectives. Governance ensures trust. Sustainability ensures relevance. You will be relevant as a business in society if you are sustainable, and otherwise, in time to come, you will disappear. Together, governance plus sustainability fuels value creation, enabling us to meet the expectations of the modern world while securing the financial future of our respective organizations. So as I conclude, let me leave you with this thought. In today's complex, interconnected world, that's such a cliche, but it is also true. The CFO's role is no longer that of a financial gatekeeper or compliance or any such thing. A CFO is now a part of perhaps a triumvirate at the top, which is the transformational leadership that every business requires today. He will help bridge governance, or combine rather, governance, sustainability, and value creation to build resilient organizations. Our challenge, this community's challenge and opportunity, is to lead not just with numbers, but with a vision for a better and more sustainable future. Let us rise to this challenge. I'm sure we will. Let us not only manage wealth, but let us create it ethically, sustainably, and inclusively. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the sessions.
Thank you, Mr. Shankar, for the very, very insightful keynote address. You set the tone and the context for the conclave today. May I request President MMA and the other dignitaries to present a memento to Mr. Shankar on behalf of MMA, please. May I also request Mr. Mahalingam to present a memento to Mr. Suresh. Weekend quiz every Saturday and Sunday. May I request Mr. Arvind Rajiv, who is the founder of Partner of Exquisite, to come and Mr. Suresh. May I request President to memento Mr. Suresh. Getting a weekend quiz, members could know. Last 500 quizzes in a row without request. Mahalingam, my question. Come to our behalf. Ladies and gentlemen, we break for tea now. Let's be back in about 10 minutes time if possible, so that we can start the first session. Right. Thank you. Iruppa.
அதில் வர அதாவது வீடியோ வந்து ஒரு ஜஸ்ட் 3 minutes வரும், அது கடைசியா. பட் அது முன்னாடி ப்ரெசன்டேஷன் இருக்கும்.
சொல்லுங்க சார். ஜாயின் பண்றேன் சார். உங்க ஸ்பீச்ல இருந்து நான் இவர் ஓப்பனிங்ல இருந்து இருந்தேன். I was watching the live stream. ஜூம்ல நான் லாகின் பண்ணியாச்சு. Yeah, I'm ready. Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to start medical session 1. I request all those who had to leave, please back on the page.
Hello, Mr. Prasad. Are you there? Go
Yes, I am. Yes, I'm here, sir. Am I audible?
Mr. Sekandar Prasad, able to hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Am I audible?
Can you open your video and audio, please, that so that we can bring you? We want to start the session. Hi, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
I think you have to unmute yourself. Done it? Okay. Just want to have a test check so we'll start the session.
Okay.
Able to hear me?
Yes, I am able to hear you. Am I audible?
Just a moment. But you're able to hear me, no?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Now your strength 5. Can you?
Am I audible now?
Yeah, quite strength 5, quite clear. Okay, we are going to start another few seconds. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll assure you, we'll leave you on time to reach the airport.
No, not a problem at all.
Thank you. Okay, we'll start the session.
Thank you.
வீடியோ போட்டு அதில் நெக்ஸ்ட் செஷன் தான் பரவாயில்ல பார்த்துக்கலாம். Ladies and gentlemen, we are starting. We are moving on with the special session 1. All those who had your tea, may I request you all once again to walk into the auditorium, please, and please take your settle down. May I request? Yeah. Our MMA staff outside, if you can kindly guide the delegates back inside the hall. Ladies and gentlemen, may I now invite Mr. Venkatesh Viswanathan, Vice President Finance, RR Donli, to take his place on the dais. And joining him for this special session is Mr. Skanda Prasad. He is joining us online this morning. Let's welcome Mr. Venkatesh Vishwanathan and Mr. Skanda Prasad with a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. So this is a very special session. It's on the theme Future of Work, Upskilling Financial Teams in Digital Era. I'm sure a lot of youngsters who gathered here today will find it very, very interesting. May I now have the AV of both the speakers, please.
Mr. Venkatesh Vishwanathan is the Vice President of Finance at R.R. Donnelley Asia, with extensive experience in financial management and offshore service transitions. Mr. Venkatesh has held key roles, including Director of Global Shared Services at Williams Lee and Finance Controller at Hyperama in the UK. A qualified Associate Chartered Accountant, Mr. Venkatesh also holds a degree in Company Law and Corporate Law. He is recognized for his leadership in driving financial excellence and operational efficiency.
Next one.
Mr. Skanda Prasad is the Group CFO of VA Techwabag Limited, with over 17 years of experience in financial leadership across EPC, renewables, IT, and automotive sectors. He has a proven track record in strategy, performance optimization, risk management, and fundraising. Mr. Skanda Prasad is skilled in financial controlling, strategic planning, and global tax optimization. He excels in enhancing profitability and navigating complex regulatory environments.
Thank you, Mr. Venkatesh and Mr. Skanda Prasad for joining us this morning. May I now request Mr. Venkatesh Vishwanathan to take the session forward, please.
Thank you. Good morning, all. Distinguished speakers, MMA members, and the august audience. The topic we're going to have in the first session is upskilling finance in a digital era. I'll just take a minute or two to talk about what this topic is about, to set the context, and then we will let Mr. Skanda Prasad, cover what he had to, which will be then followed by a Q&A session. For the Q&A, I think there will be questions or papers floated around for you to write down the questions and pass it back to me, and I'll coordinate that. Upskilling finance in digital era. What is this digital era? Whether it is our own personal finance, when it comes to simple banking needs, do we even step into a bank any of these days? Do you even log into the bank website to check your bank statements, bank balance? Everything is at your fingertips on your mobile. So that's a tremendous digital transformation. Then let's move on to the corporate finance. How many of us even write checks? I don't know. So whether it is paying your vendors seamlessly, I've not seen even emails coming, physical invoices coming anymore. It's all coming to us digitally through various platforms and as a last resort via email. So whether it is corporate finance in invoice processing or reporting, or whether it is investment banking, you get financial advisory through the various digital media. Your investments are enabled sitting at your desk. You're no longer going and meeting financial advisors. So I think any sphere of finance that you touch, there has been a lot of digital transformation in the last few years. And the question is, upskilling finance in this digital era. So let's say I'm a finance associate in a company. I'm punching AP invoices. I am a graduate. I know I know SAP, I know Oracle. Is that not enough? I am an accountant. I know I'm a chartered accountant, let us say. And then I know how to put, I know to read balance sheet. I know to read P&L. I know how to close the books. I know some Excel. So is that enough? Where are we heading towards with so much of digital transformation happening in the field of finance? What is the upskilling that we are going to need to cope up with this kind of a change? This is what I think we will have this first session all about. If we don't upskill ourselves and keep pace to the changing needs, there are going to be challenges. But to talk about that at length, let me invite Mr. Skanda Prasad onto it. He is virtually joining us. Please pay rapt attention. Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Skanda Prasad.
Thank you, Mr. Venkatesh. Thank you for first setting the tone. I didn't share my presentation with you, but I think you have captured the crux even without knowing what I would present. And I'm not going to do anything different than that. First of all, a very good morning to all the MMA delegates, Mr. Mahalingam, Mr. Vijay Kumar, my guru, TG Suresh, all the distinguished speakers, Mr. MP Vijay Kumar, Mr. Gopal Desikan. I don't know if he remembers, I used to be part of the audit team of the TVS Motor Company. Mr. Arun, Mr. Pradeep, both of them have been professional colleagues. So I would have loved to be in person, but due to a pressing need to be here, I'm joining digitally. And I think it's also a tryst of destiny. Something that is going to be a topic on digital is also covered through a digital medium. So I hope I can bring some insights into, let me just share my screen. Please let me know if my screen is visible.
Visible. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So the topic of the conclave, which includes governance, sustainability, and value. Ideally, I work for a company which is into water treatment, and we are a sustainable business by nature. We green everything, we blue everything. So that way, I thought sustainability would be a topic, and as TG has said, that was already taken. So I thought the next best topic would be something more related to the industry, and probably a challenge for an industry like the EPC industry, because when it comes to manufacturing or banking or IT, there's a lot of repetitive tasks. EPC is a very heterogeneous business. And so the need for digitization and the efforts required for digitizations are going to be multifold. And this is what I'm now, I've started spearheading inside VATech Vaba to see what, and the board is completely committed to see how we can implement digitized tools. While the business is very technology dependent, the operations have to now move more digital. So the topic is upskilling financial teams in a digital era. I would call it more reskilling. Upskilling is something which is an improvement of what we know. I think there is a lot of things that we have not studied or we have not got through a classroom atmosphere. So it's more reskilling that we have to do along with the upskilling. And it's not just for the financial teams, it's for all the business teams. Because today it's not just the finance that requires this upskilling or reskilling. It is the entire business that is required. The whole ecosystem has to move. The imperative, as Mr. Venkatesh also put forth in his opening remarks, there is no future without digital upskilling. We are in the digital era. We are expected to only go and get better as we move forward. Some metrics from few of the surveys that I could take out. If you see from a talent and productivity perspective, businesses are looking for new skills, new talent, and obviously the objective is to improve productivity and operational performance. Now, a necessity in finance teams to improve more on corporate decision making, because businesses today, as Mr. Shankar also said in his opening keynote address, CFOs are co-pilots today. I used to work for an organization which called the finance team as management control, and they named it on purpose. They wanted the finance team to control the management of operations. So that's the importance that finance teams are getting today. And the finance teams have become integral to business. There is less and less of accounting work and reporting work that is expected, and more of business solutions and strategy that is required. Now, when we progress through this, obviously there is upskilling required both on digital as well as the finance skills. Most businesses are today investing on upskilling their resources both digitally as well as on the strategy and finance front. And today we see most of the finance teams, as you would see, 90% of finance functions will deploy at least one AI-enabled technology in the next 12 to 18 months. And that will bring significant changes, both in terms of the way we operate and the learning that we need to unlearn and learn in a way. And more repetitive tasks are moving from humans to machines. Again, what is the finance team transforming itself into? It's driving innovation. It is driving corporate strategy. It is driving value. And today, finance teams are more the hub or the connector for various departments, because they are seen as the most apt part of the organization, which can connect with multiple moving parts to integrate and deliver value. And one of the tools to this is also the adoption of digitization, AI, generative AI. These are all emerging technologies that all of us need to understand, collaborate with professionals, and see how it can be implemented into our processes. The journey of finance has moved from manual bookkeeping to more what, let's say, somebody of my age would be more experienced around using ERP systems, using computers, spreadsheets. We are very comfortable with working on Excels, working on ERP. We believe this is the digital efficiency that we have achieved. But today, I mean, personally, when I recruit new people, they come with a lot of skills around data visualization. They look forward to seeing how what data is captured can move to meaningful solutions. And this is where I think both the upskilling and the reskilling part from a finance perspective would come. I'll take 5 minutes to broadly take you through some of the relevant popular technologies. The presentation is a very short time to discuss everything, but I'd broadly like to cover the first principles. This is, I would say, more the, I would say, the lowest end of technology, which is the IoT and digital twins. IoT is nothing but devices, sensors, or any physical objects which collect data, which can integrate with a network and store this data for obviously processing. Something like a temperature sensor, something like your smartwatch is an IoT device which allows collecting data. A digital twin, on the other side, is the digital replication of physical infrastructure. And this allows you to simulate a lot of real world scenarios without having to spend the cost that would traditionally be required to test these scenarios. So one of the reasons why I'm covering these is to understand some of these basics. I'm sure many of you would know, but decomplexing this would help us also in understanding how this can be applied into our business. Because today, what improves in operations automatically improves finance. Now, if we take IoT devices or digital twins, what are the typical use cases that we could think about? Asset tracking. Some of these are things that I am working on. Some of these are things that I have had a chance to discuss around. So I'm covering a combination of the two. Asset tracking, which basically tracking parameters of the asset, looking at when preventive downtime is required, when do we location, integrity, all of those are covered here. Typically, RFID, GPS trackers, other IoT-enabled sensors will allow us to do this. What used to earlier be done through a manual check moves to the digital mode through IoT and digital twins. Inventory management, real-time inventory insights. There are today optical tools that allow you, sensors that allow you to track inventory levels and reorder automatically once you set that the stock levels move below uh, uh, a certain level. Safety improvement, this is very close to our business because we work in an open environment. We're an EPC company. So monitoring safety standards of our workers, looking at motion sensors, IoT powered cameras, which can allow us to track, because reporting safety parameters and safety metrics is something that is essential for us today with the ESG reporting kicking. We cannot merely depend upon human reporting of incidents. We have to use digital tools to collect this data. Smart metering, again, something that we use typically in our business to track flow, to track temperature, to track how the consumption is on. We supply water, we transmit, we distribute water to users. It helps in two forms. One, it gives you an opportunity to bill on time. The second is what plagues the water industry, let's say, is non-revenue water, the wastage during transmission. And these sensors also allow us to see where we are losing water on non-productive sources. The last, of course, quality testing, as I covered, digital twins, which allow you to test a lot of parameters on physical machines using their digital twin. A lot of speed is gathered in this process. This is more for the manufacturing industry that it would apply. The second, as I say, while we saw the physical infrastructure, blockchain and robotic process automation form the working class of digital era, I would say. Blockchain, as is defined, is a immutable ledger which can record transactions and track assets. We see here a typical scenario of how blockchain can be applied in the EPC industry, which is a procure-to-pay process involving multiple documents, multiple contractual requirements. We go through a RFP, RFQ, quotation, and then purchase order process. And we could top it up with smart contracts, which will generate purchase orders and also track contract conditions as we move. Some typical usages of blockchain: intercompany transactions. Large groups which have multiple intercompany transactions could use blockchain to reduce their reconciliation efforts. Procure to pay, as we saw in the previous slide, is one other use case for a blockchain. A similar case would be in order to cash, just like the procure to pay. Trade finance has a lot of ability to use this, mainly from an invoice factoring, supply chain factoring, letters of credit, where you could remove emailing, phone calls, informal ways of communication, thereby reducing the processing time and improving the availability of trade finance. And of course, one of the most famous exponents, I would say, of blockchain is the digital identity infrastructure. Robotic process automation, another working class of the digital era. This is where mundane, monotonous, repetitive, human-driven tasks are taken over by machines and robots who would do this, and thereby releasing time for applying human effort on things that really require our attention. Again, some use cases: production tracking. This would automated handling of purchase orders and order processing tasks, reducing human error, improves operational efficiency. Invoice processing, again, this has its own challenges, but I think by integrating tools, this is something that we can have, removing a lot of human errors in the process in terms of selecting the right tax code, selecting the right purchase order. All of these, while ERPs have made it easier, but this is one level better in terms of taking out the human error element completely. Order and freight management, again, tracking orders, giving inventory updates, ensuring timely deliveries is something the RPAs can support. Regulatory compliances, tracking data, data collection, and reporting on some of the regulatory requirements. And of course, just like the blockchain process, accounts reconciliation. The most famous would be, let's say, a GST reconciliation that is required monthly, or a bank reconciliation that is required monthly, can now be done by bots. We don't need humans for that. We need humans for doing things which essentially need their intelligence. The third part, of course, this is a very nascent stage. I would say from tools, there are a lot of there's enough and more that is coming up here in terms of artificial intelligence, generative AI, and machine learning. This is typically the luxury part, I would say, of digitization, looking at replacing human intelligence. The general notion is that AI will take away jobs. There's a report which I read which spoke about the fact that for every job lost in the traditional space, AI creates 2 jobs. So it's a matter of reskilling ourselves to meet the requirements of this era, rather than saying I would not give up jobs. I think AI, digital, blockchain, RPA, all of these will replace human jobs in the near future. But what are the kind of human jobs it would replace? It would replace mundane, monotonous, regular tasks, so that humans can concentrate on strategy, innovation, and value creation, which is what we are meant for. Now, again, some of the use cases, very few, we have also used in our business. Production planning and scheduling, while an RPA would do it on set rules, and AI would also have intelligence developed, so it could also handle dynamic situations. Demand response management, again, demand forecasting, especially energy providers, to make decisions on optimizing usage, when to run the plant. Business acquisition is an area where we as an organization, we are using AI for 2 main purposes. One is sourcing RFP, RFQs, and tenders. We are a tender-driven business because we do almost 70-80% of our business is municipal. And when we are in this space, we need to source this data, and AI scrapes through multiple websites, downloads the data, and presents it in form that can allow us to make decisions. Again, once the tenders are there, we again are right now mulling a solution which can read these tenders. These tenders run into multiple volumes, sometimes 500,000 pages. So reading these tenders and summarizing, synthesizing the information for decision makers is something that we are investing in. Again, AI can detect suspicious activities, especially credit card companies, which block transactions where they detect unusual spending. And the last is, of course, the expected credit loss. Thanks to it, we are currently mulling if we can use public and any data that is available, which can allow us to predict creditworthiness of our customers. Unlike a CIBIL score, we would not have something publicly available for all our customers. Our customers are spread across the world. So today, we are seeing what we can do other than the normal matrix model in terms of provisioning using historical data and management assumptions. How else can we use a digital forum to enhance this? So these are broadly the big tools that are there in the digital space. Now, having seen all these tools, it's important to also see the proof of the pudding. This is a famous case study of the digital transformation of Tata Steel. It is available in the public forum. So Tata Steel, as you know, is a steel major. They started their digital journey in 2015. 2017, they adopted an accelerated approach. So they are already 10 years ahead of the curve in a way. What drove this? The rising demand for steel, business growth, changing consumption patterns, requirement to be agile, and of course, climate regulations, which is ESG reporting and the rest. Now, how did they go about it? If you see whatever technologies I covered in the previous few slides, they've gone into every single of those and probably even beyond. You'd see AI models for improvement in productivity. They've used IoT-enabled smart sensors for predictive asset management, RPAs across the business, video analytics, which are AI-based, management excellence centers for proactive maintenance, data visualization tools based on Tableau, zero or low code platforms for application development, tech startup ecosystem partnerships. So you name it, they have gone through this digital journey and adopted every single tool that we have seen in the past, in the previous slides. I'm sorry. Now, what has this done? It is important for us to understand that all of this is not merely talk. It gives tangible value on the table. They could achieve 90% first-time success rates in their production, bringing down a lot of time which was wasted. Stock levels reduced by 19%. Their cash conversion cycle came down to 59 days from 96 days in 2017. Optimize inventory, faster receivables, streamlined payables. And the quantified benefit that is publicly available on this over 6 years is a staggering $1.4 billion. And so adopting a digital journey is not merely an imperative, not merely a compulsion. It allows us to bring value to the table. And imagine a company like Tata Steel just on digitization over 6 years, bringing $1.4 billion to the table. That's a significant amount. And I think all businesses are looking at this, not only in finance, but across the operations. Now, having seen some of the technologies, having seen what a major like Tata Steel has done, uh, it's important that we move the cheese. And we are dealing with human beings. So the whole process is not going to be easy. It will require a very concerted effort. So I've managed to put a small blueprint on upskilling finance teams. Phase one would obviously be identifying skill gaps and defining roles. I think it has to become normal that we look at people who are sitting by the side, who's an RPA controller, who's a finance data scientist, who's an ESG controller. I'm sure these are there in the newer businesses, but imagine this in a EPC industry, in a manufacturing setup, in a traditional service industry. This has to be normalized for the larger group. The financial services or the e-commerce, they would be that much more easier to adapt these, but adapting this to the traditional businesses is going to be it's going to take a lot of effort, and that's where I think finance professionals, CFOs will play an important role, because all of this will ultimately bring value to the table. The second is targeted training and micro learning through micro learning systems, small short videos, case studies, for the identified people to gather the interest. The third is real world applications and hands-on learning. Put them on live projects to apply whatever they have learned. Mentor them using senior professionals, bring in technical expertise, and thereby you convert a pure finance person into a partly techno-financial person. A fourth phase would be a cross-functional integration and collaborative partnerships. This will become very important because digitization is a network system. So you will have to bring all departments within finance to integrate, so that, I mean, end of the day, digitization is possible only if you have a single source of truth. You can't run it on your Excel sheets and expect that digitization will happen. You will have to move more towards shared networks, shared information. So cross-functional mentorship programs, collaboration across finance, across the organization, and co-creating solutions would be phase four, which would help transform. Fifth phase would be a digital sandbox environment, training people to practice financial reports, analyzing data, looking at inaccuracies, developing problem-solving skills, giving them test programs to run. Phase six would be, having gone through all of this, developing an in-house expertise system. So you have peer learnings, workshops, and training across the organization. You need evangelists for this. End of the day, people have huge inertia. So you have to move them out of their comfort zone if you have to do digitization. Last but not the least, after having changed people, it's important that it's seen as a cultural transformation. It is not merely a technical transformation. People should look at this as a change of culture, looking at any tools that are deployed as the basis for reviewing. Again, one another case study which is available in the public forum is Tata Steel's Kalinganagar digital transformation. This led to a 2-3% EBITDA uplift, and that's significant. So all these are clear indicators that digitization brings actual value to the business, which we are all recruited for. Now, this is how we will move. We were looked at for the traditional skills. Today's evolving skills are data analysis, automation, modeling, RegTech applications. But it's also important we move more towards the future skills, learning how AI can be applied, how blockchains can be integrated. Sustainability and ESG reporting becomes extremely important today with the BRSR core. All of these are going to push businesses more and more to measure and report data. Now, having spoken about the hard skills, I think people have to change and rewire their brain. On the left, you would see typical skills that we used to look for in people when we recruited them. Are they analytical? Do they have good negotiation skills? Do they have a time management, communication? But today, with the digital era onset, these are the typical qualities that, at least in our organization, in interviews, that we look for. How adaptable they are. We don't want people who are rigid, who do not want to change. How digitally dexter they are. Are they looking at multitasking, foresight? Because once the transactions are taken out from a finance person, it is essential that accuracy would be done by the machines. It is important that people analyze this data and come out with decisions. Cross-functional leadership, as I mentioned earlier, dealing between departments has not. It's become that much more important today with the digital era onsetting. Storytelling at all levels, ability to comprehend the information that is thrown from all of these tools to present and arrive at decisions has become an important skill. Problem solving. So if you see on the right, almost all the transactional skills have been wiped out. So people are moving to recruiting personnel who are able to be more strategic rather than transactional. So in summary, this is an irreversible transformation. That's a given. We should see technologies not as tools, but as enablers for strategic roles. Tomorrow's finance person will have to have knowledge of all these tools to even grow in an organization. Upskilling or reskilling is a non-negotiable, and not just on technical front, but also the soft skills. And all organizations in this process need to have a continuous learning mindset to ensure that they thrive and grow in the future. Just before I finish, TGS was speaking about me having a hard stop at 11. So I just logged into my Digi Yatra, which I do on most whenever I travel. And I learned today, I was just browsing since I was presenting this topic. Digi Yatra uses blockchain, Digi Yatra uses AI, Digi Yatra uses ML. So all these tools are also used by Digi Yatra. Of course, the government is moving at a much faster pace than the private sector. But this is how the world is moving, and we cannot be left behind. That was it from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Skanda Prasad. I think that was a wonderful presentation in terms of articulating, where we were to where we are today. What are all the skills that can be deployed in various requirements, various functions in a corporate world, and followed by an elucidation of how companies have adopted, put it into practice, the results. You summed it up very nicely. In the interest of time, we've got a few questions. I will take only one question. Please don't get offended, the rest of them. Skanda, this is for you. What strategies can CFOs adopt to foster a culture of continuous learning and adaptability within financial terms while balancing day-to-day operational demands? This question is from Ms. Sangeeta of Chennai.
See, end of the day, it's about an attitude. Um, I started off as a business controller, moved to a reporting role, moved to a finance controlling role, moved to a CFO role. Now I am doing everything what a CFO is not traditionally known to do. 60-70% of my time is spent on seeing what we can digitize, how we can create value, strategy. So end of the day, finance professionals have to have a hybrid approach to this. One is there are enough forums today to learn things and acquire skills. All of these can be done. The second is being open-minded. Ask questions. I mean, say when you don't know. I mean, be explicit that you do not know. Learn from your peers. Learn from your mentors. So all of these will having open-mindedness and having an approach. If you are in an organization, the organization will obviously invest in your skills, but don't just be restricted by that. You by yourself use various forums, including like the MMA forum, which can give you all these insights, and all these skills are only going to take you forward. So it's all about adaptability, finding every opportunity to learn, and treading the untreaded path. Don't hesitate to do non-finance roles.
I will just add to what, quickly add to what Skanda just said is, so in terms of a strategy, I think everybody faces this challenge. There is the first 2 weeks of month close, reporting, the standard schedule that all of us finance folks go through. But you'll have to figure out some lean period within that duration to figure out what is more important and relevant. To what Skanda said, for instance, in my organization, what I did was there's no more sending spreadsheets of information. We've converted all to dashboard, right from the president down to whoever needs to see you from a business unit head. Everybody clicks onto a dashboard. You can see it on the mobile. You can see it on your laptop. So you figure out what is important and what kind of can unleash a lot of time to more into human touch in terms of adding that value. So if you take away those, address those issues first and hand productive time back to your team, that can bring add a lot of value to the organization. So with that, we will close this session of upscaling finance in a digital era. Thanks for your participation. We will hand it over back to MMA.
Thank you, Mr. Venkatesh. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, they deserve a big round of applause. Fantastic presentation from Mr. Skanda Prasad. May I now present a digital memento to Mr. Skanda Prasad because he's not available here physically. So we will see him here definitely next time around. Thanks, Mr. Skanda Prasad, despite your busy schedule, for sparing time with us. Mr. P. Vijay Kumar is here. He's a group CFO of CFO Technologies. May I request him to come onto the stage? And he was very happy that you mentioned DigiYatra. I believe DigiYatra uses their data center. So it was a special message from him for you. And may I now request Mr. T.G. Suresh also to join Group Head Vijay Kumar, presenting a memento to Mr. Venkatesh Viswanathan. So, Ms. Skanda Prasad, we will have you here next time to present a memento here as well, physically. Ladies and gentlemen. So, we also have a memento from Prakash Kochar and Company. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Skanda Prasad. Thanks for joining. Ladies and gentlemen, we move on to the next session. It's again a very special session. It's on sustainable finance, the CFO's role in green investments and reporting. Just give me 30 seconds as we set it up here. And to drive this session, we have none other than Mr. Gopala Desikan, who is the Group CFO, TVS Motor Company. May I request him to come and take his place on the dais, please. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. Gopal Desikan, Group CFO of TVS Motors. As he settles down, may I have his AV, please?
Mr. K. Gopaladesakan is the Group CFO of TV's Motor Company and Sundaram Clayton Limited, with over 28 years of experience in finance, taxation, treasury, and strategic planning. A chartered accountant and MBA graduate, he has played a key role in corporate finance, M&A, and international business initiatives. Mr. Desakan is recognized for his deep financial expertise and leadership in driving TV's Motor's growth and transformation.
May I now request Mr. Gopal Desigan to share his perspectives, please. Sir.
Very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Nice to see my very young photo. I think that gives me a lot of. It's always a pleasure to be here. I have given few talks, lectures here. And one morning walk, I had a chance to meet Suresh, and he spoke about an event, but we didn't speak about the topic or subject. When a list was given, I chose to have this for two reasons. One, it gives an opportunity for me to assess as a group where we are today and yesterday. Two, there are a lot of changes that are happening, and it gave me an opportunity to spend some time going through some material. So thanks to Captain, thanks to Suresh for giving this opportunity. Let me try to set the context. In the late 80s, when I started my career, my thought, a role of a CFO, is just finalizing the numbers. Trial balance tallying itself is a big achievement. Then balance sheet complying with board-related compliances, getting the shareholders' approval. Again, redo that the same process. Custodian of assets. Then after some time, I realized it's not just reporting of the fact that has happened. We should also own the numbers. Then the process shifts to owning the numbers. The managing point got shifted to the managing after-tax profit. If the managing point is managing the profit, every other line item is a checking point, right from the turnover to each line item of the cost. Then it becomes how to manage the funding process. So then I slightly changed my thought process of a CFO role to not just reporting the event, also to own the event. Now the era has completely changed. It's equally difficult to speak between a very good speaker, Skanda Prasad, and a veteran, Vijay Kumar, but I will try to make it as brief as possible, as interesting as possible. It's a very evolving subject. All of us should take it seriously. From the traditional way of the accountant or a finance role, we are uniquely placed today, very uniquely placed. We are part of the strategy team today. We are part of the planning process. And now we should embed the ESG consideration into the process in our long-term planning. I don't think anybody else other than a finance person is the most right person to do it. We have the analytical skills. We have the capability to visualize a scenario, both at the macro level, the industry level, and the company level. And we are the custodian of assets. We are deploying the funds. And therefore, we have the largest role to play in this important transition era. This is the context which I just wanted to set. What I have tried to do here I think my office, you are presenting what was discussed a few days back, right? Nothing new. Because I was traveling and I'm going to read something there. That's very important because sometimes something happened last week in the office should not impact me now. So I'm sure I will try to make it as interesting as possible. I have split this into two parts. One, the basics. The theoretical part, we need to understand that. Only then we will get a complete understanding, a belief that it is important. The second, what we do in our organization. This is how I have split this presentation into two parts. Let's go to the next slide. This is something what is the 10 important trends which are important. Let's try to start with this. Cash is king again. It's not the right word forever. I can give an example. In the peak COVID times, prior to that, we have 4,000 touch points in TVS Motor Company dealers. We used to give credit. And we took a call that no more credit. It's a cash and carry model. A lot of hue and cry from the sales and marketing team. Nothing happened. Today, we are generating positive free cash flow. Therefore, cash is always important as a finance person. ESG, we will talk. AI, we have AI and digitalization. Very, very interesting session, extremely interesting session, the first. Even in our organization, the internal audit process is almost AI-driven. Almost AI-driven. And also, when we started moving towards the digitalization, we took stock of what are the things manually we have been doing, how we can make it zero. Still not yet achieved, but we have come a long way. The way just talked about dashboard, absolute the same concepts and principles that are being used today. Of course, there's one target which I'm trying, I have failed till now, is to completely remove Excel. That's dangerous. Quite useful, but dangerous. Sometimes it misleads, sometimes it makes you believe right. And it's our own intervention. I'm not questioning Excel, it's manual intervention. The most important piece, besides the ESG, which we will talk more in detail, is building a strong organization, the talent pool. The opportunities are huge for us. For finance people, the opportunities are huge. The way he was talking about the AI, digitalization, and the ESG, which I'm going to touch upon, we need to completely, I won't say unlearn what we have learned, relearn a lot of new things. And the last piece is now the investor relationship. I have been handling this portfolio for quite some time, the investors relationship. The expectations have completely changed today. The institutions hold in our company close to 50%, 48%. Their expectations on ESG has changed. In fact, there are requests from some of the institutions to discuss on ESG initiatives of TVS. And therefore, ESG is something which is inevitable, greatest opportunity for all of us. It may look like incurring cost. For a minute, we should remove the hat of an accountant. As an accountant, we always try to see whether it gives back the benefit immediately. ESG may not give immediately, but it is an investment for future. Some of the costs may be for accounting compulsions we may write off as an expenditure, but I always consider these as future investments, and we are creating something which is unique for the future. This is the background about the ESG. Let me go to some basics before I come to what we do in our organization. Next slide. There are three equities. One is nature, social, and economic equity. What is important is the rate of consumption, what we consume, doesn't exceed the rate of replenishment. The pollution, what we generate, doesn't exceed the rate of restoration. So very important. The replenishment and restoration is very much possible. We have abundance of the natural resources. It's our duty to protect, our duty to replenish, our duty to restore. What are we talking? How, as a finance person, we can add? Definitely, which we will see in the future slides. Social equity is all about meeting the basic needs of the people. Economic equity is nothing but ensuring the entire value chain is run, value is created through proper governance. Take our own company. The end customer, when he buys a vehicle, I must give a good quality vehicle, he should get a value for money. My dealer should ensure proper treatment of the customers, ensuring the governance principles are met. My suppliers should follow the ESG considerations. Therefore, following this ESG across the value chain creates a lot of positive economic activity. This is about the triple equity and its evolution. Next slide. What is sustainable finance and why it is important, and what is green investment? It's a basic thing. It refers to the integration of the ESG aspects embed into the financial numbers. Be it your investment decisions, capital allocation, have a E-P&L incorporating the ESG considerations, the investment part, the revenue part. That is something that's all about sustainable finance. We know the numbers, we know the ESG considerations. We are too good in converting the qualitative issues, the soft issues into numbers. This is all about sustainable finance. Integrate, embed the sustainable finance issues, integrating the environmental ESG considerations into our decision process. Green investment is nothing but investment into these, which gives a favorable natural environment, focuses on conserving the natural resources, reducing the carbon emissions. All investments related to this is what we are talking about on ESG today. It may look like, as I said earlier, a cost and an expenditure, but it has a huge benefit going forward. Next. The risks involved. There are two types of risks we talk about. One is a financial risk. What is a financial risk? The immediate investment, there are a lot of uncertainties involved. It's not really certain that we will get this benefit. Therefore, as I said again at the beginning, let's not have an accountant cap here. It's a strategic investment. It's something which has a potential to deliver in the future. Next is the competition. Those who don't follow ESGs may be more competitive for the present, but in the long run, it has its own implications. Regulatory risks. The regulator sometimes offers incentives. For example, even in the EV vehicles, what we sell, the customer gets a FAME benefit, the manufacturer gets a PLI benefit, there is a reduction in GST. If you don't perform the regulations, there are carbon tax related penalties. Therefore, there are risks involved in any activity, even in ESG, there are risks, but it can always be mitigated if we have a broader outlook on what it's going to deliver in the long run. Next one. This is again what I said about incorporate the ESG consideration into the planning process. In your scenario planning, in our CapEx decisions, performance dialogue, even performance incentives are nowadays linked to the ESG related deliverables. Established process and systems. We are too good in establishing controls. Ensure that process controls are completely given there. Monitor the process ensure they are properly reported. The incentive part, as I said earlier, is becoming a new concept now. ESG achievement is considered for the performance appraisals at a senior level. Quantify and communicate. It's very, very important. Just not doing the ESG related is important. We need to effectively communicate both internally and externally what we have done, what benefits that's going to derive in the future. Even in the earnings call, nowadays, a lot of questions are being asked about what is your ESG initiative? What is the investment you have made in this particular quarter on ESG? Therefore, this is something, an expectation from everybody, whether it's an investor or a regulator, or this is why somebody should expect. Even we have a responsibility to ensure the ESG considerations are properly addressed. This is, we're talking about the revenue. What is it we are deriving out of this? One, the operating cost savings. To sell the concept of an investment, there are obvious savings in the operating costs. Productivity improvement. You can reduce the quality considerations, reduce the energy cost, reduce your interest cost. There are a lot of cost savings attached which can improve the bottom line from the ESG considerations. We should believe in that. We should not think that an investment, what is it is going to give. Please quantify the benefits out of an ESG investment. If we don't do this, what are the opportunities lost or the penalties which will be levied? That has to be considered. The tax incentives which the ESG related investments gives must be factored into our investment decisions. There are premium chargeable, even customers are willing to pay an extra money in the compliances of ESG and the products. Consider all that. The last is what I spoke about, the investor, their expectations, and our duty to properly communicate what we do on the ESG considerations. This is about what is the value on the sustainability portion we derive. This again, the same thing. I personally feel if it is properly done, if it is with a belief done, there is a possibility to get 3 to 5% increase in EBITDA. In digitalization, we saw 2%. It's already another 3%, 5% through a simple process of digitalization and ESG related investments possible to get straight advantage. It can be in the form of energy savings. It can be in the form of waste recycling. In our organization, we ensure that, in fact, if somebody happens to visit our factory, the scrap yard we can sit and eat. It will be so clean. It will be so clearly demarcated, reusable items. And we ensure that every item which is reusable is brought back to the production system. Water treatment. We have around 12,000 people in the factory. Every day, 12,000 people eat. The machines are run. Water is very, very important. We effectively manage the water. If we don't effectively manage this water, the water price, the cost, the other side is what we are talking about. So there are tangible benefits which can give in the quantifiable term increase in profits. If we don't do something, there are tangible impact which will impact the P&L. Therefore, 2 to 3% minimum EBITDA increase is possible if ESG is properly considered, addressed, effectively monitored, and effectively executed. And we have done that. I can tell some examples which certain things I can't really reveal, but our profitability clearly reflects over a period of time. I always tell this in all the earning calls. Whatever we do, they are all sustainable initiatives. And these are some of the initiatives which we have effectively done. How to measure ROI? Generally, people will say, well, how can we measure return on investment on ESGs? There are direct finance returns, financial returns, which we discussed in the previous slides. can be in the form of a top line increase or in the form of a productivity improvement or a real cost saving. Absolute straight case. Cost savings are there. When insurance costs, if you have effectively managed the ESG considerations, there is a possibility to get a reduction in the insurance premium we pay. Risk mitigation, climate risk is very important. A 2% increase in the temperature, 2% increase will have a very serious implications on the economy. It will have very, very destructive, the demand, the productivity, the consumption. What we can do for the climate related risks. Probably when we get into a project investment related issues, we need to consider what are all the implications, impact on the climate related considerations. Brand is important, reputation is important. The ESG compliant company, again, I always used to say in my organization, brand is built over a period of 100 years. In our case, we have a responsibility to maintain, if possible, to improve. And therefore, complying with the ESG considerations, considering about the future, the social related obligations, brand building is something which I mean, it's not easily quantifiable. So that reputation is important. Capitalization, market capitalization, I spoke about investors' expectations, the stability in the market, the belief in the investors completely improves. Government incentives, again, in case of EV, the GST payable on an electric vehicle is 5% as against 28% for a normal ICE vehicle. That's an incentive government gives. The PLI benefits, huge. So government incentives ought to be considered whenever we decide about a project on ESG. Long-term financing, in fact, 15 years back, we used to have a small power generating company, around 70 megawatt. That time I raised money from a JBIC funding. It's a 15-year funding, which I took 15 years back for a project of EV related, electric generating company related. Good terms, concessional rate of interest. So all are to be considered when we evaluate a return on investment on an ESG project. Next. Again, about the financing, probably you can go to the next slide in the interest of time. Is financing options, it's again a green bond or a sustainable loan. Bond and a loan, or bond is something owned by many, loan is between a banker and a lender and an entity. That's all. Otherwise, there are too many words here, but sum and substance is that. It's a green bond or a transition bond where the use of profits, end use is defined there. You must use only for an ESG related investment. That's a very, generally the lenders expect the end use related. That's a simple same product. The second one is something sustainability linked. Sustainability linked is there is no end use there, but when you achieve the ESG related considerations, ESG related KPIs which you have fixed for yourself, you can renegotiate for that better term. This is all about the sustainability linked bonds or loans. The third piece is again more, if your suppliers are also ESG compliant, you can have better working capital related funding. Why sustainable finance is important? First of all, it is very similar to the traditional products. It's not something extra documentation, extra negotiation, nothing, same. You also get a diversified lender base. In the cap table, you have a new lender in the form of a long-term lender. He's more like an investor. In fact, next slide, I think there are loans possible even for 30 years. And potential pricing benefit, potential terms, long-term funding is possible. And also we demonstrate to the outside world our commitment to sustainability. So therefore, funding, and ESG funding is possible for everybody, even for my CFOs here from the finance company. For our EV retail finance, for a two-wheeler funding in India, 60% of the people are dependent on retail fund. NBFCs play a very important role. With EV penetration going up, the NBFCs can access to these type of funds, which has concessional rating, concessional pricing, which can be passed on to the ultimate end customers. Next slide. This is again, we spoke about some 4 principles, the use of proceeds. Process, we need to give a development management of those proceeds, reporting requirements. Just leave this, is a more theoretical. This is important. The bond market globally, which was just 38 billion in 2014, is now crossed $4 trillion US. It's something which everybody is now accessing to these type of funding proposals. Just 38 billion over a period of 10 years have gone to 4 trillion crossed. And again, if you see the first half of FY24, 11% of bonds issued were in ESG format. Overall, 11%. Next slide. In India, I think in India also, the green loans and bonds put together is around 70%. Utilities and finance industry is availing more today. Of course, government is also a big borrower of the ESG related bonds today. Next. Governance is important. Before I go to what we do in TVS, the highest corporate governance standards emphasizing the accountability, responsibility, and reliability is important, which we know about it. So that's why I said finance heads, finance people are uniquely placed today. The governance already, which we are completely aware of. We also have in our organization also a dedicated committee to monitor the ESGs. It's very important. A focus has to be there. And CFO again, thanks to again the MMA, when I started completely doing an introspection and also assessing where we are, a lot of improvements possible. It gave me an opportunity to set certain targets to myself and to the team. Thank you so much for that. Next. This is about the process which we follow. We call this as a double materiality assessment. A question is given, few questions relating to ESG are asked, and based on that we framed a policy. One is an impact materiality. How it impacts the industry, the company under the various ESG considerations. How it has a financial impact, doing or not doing an ESG activity. So this is, we call it as a double materiality FAQ, which gives, go to the next slide, probably we can explain more in detail. Let's take one example of climate change and decarbonization. The 2 questions asked, how significant it is for our company and for our industry. The implications of considering or not considering this. Like this for everything, for example, water. As I said earlier, 10 to 12,000 people every day in the factory. If water is not properly managed, if it is not properly reused or recharged, then what is the cost of not doing that? That is assessed. Is it important to us or not? Circular economy. There are lots of wastes that generates out of a production process. In fact, there is one slide, I think, on battery related, which I will take you through. How a battery is completely reused, brought back into the production process. So the circular economy is very important. Next slide. Biodiversity and nature. There is one small slide, I think, on the, you have a, okay. So we have a factory inside, we have a forest inside a factory. In fact, we can see it's a 30 minutes, I think I have to have a session only for that. So 2-3 minutes, we will show how both nature and an industry can coexist. Supply chain, which we discussed, very important. Whatever we do in TVS Motor, we expect our suppliers to do. Only then we can achieve the objective. And the community in and around us. In fact, there is one slide which we talk about. I will take you through what we do for the community. Next slide. Interest of. These are all various the projects and investments what we have done in the clean transportation. Besides EV and the alternate fuel vehicles which we have launched, we always ensure that there is a zero direct tailpipe emissions even in our ICG vehicles. There is a saving in the CO2 related emissions. We ensure that it is avoided. Renewable energy. In fact, 97% of the energy consumed by us are through renewable sources today. We started this from 45% 7-8 years back. Gradually, we ensure that everything is green. Today, 97% of our requirement in our factory are completely through renewable sources. Efficient usage of energy. We have ensured proper installation and maintenance of energy efficient machines so that the energy cost is saved. Circular economy we discussed. Water we have discussed. Go to the next slide. This is, in fact, our vision statement. Vision, it talks about transforming the quality of life across the world, providing mobility solutions that are exciting, responsible, sustainable, and safe. In fact, we have considered, even in our vision statement, it is not drafted now, it was drafted long back. We have considered the sustainability part, the responsibility part, transforming this social obligations, quality of life of people. This, therefore, it is in our DNA that the ESG, the what we give back to the society, thanks to our chairman emeritus and now Mr. Sudarshan Venu, our managing director, absolute focus. We have a complete freedom on investments in ESG related investments. The objective is only, does it give, are we giving back to the society in some form? So that is something, thanks to them, their guidance and support, we have achieved quite a bit. Next slide. We have, as I said, 97% of the overall power is through renewable sources today. We have done a few things. In fact, we have a conversion of the fuel-based cooking vessels into completely electrical operation. It's not so easy to cook for 12,000 people every day. So we have completely automated this process. Next. Some of the experience TVS Motor. One is leadership in green mobility, our EV journey. It's a very interesting journey. When electric vehicle was launched, long back we launched, again we relaunched later. It's extremely well received. We have a decent market share of close to 25% today. And I always used to say this, there were several anxieties when this electric vehicle was introduced. Anxiety with regard to the range, anxiety with regard to whether it can carry the weight, anxiety with regard to the chargeability. They're all behind us today, absolutely behind us today. Electric vehicle penetration is slowly happening in this country. Probably to start with, it's happening in the urban, probably starting with the scooter segment, and going forward in 5 to 7 years' time, you will have a very, very good penetration of EV vehicles. Probably in one of the slides, let me also touch upon what is it we save out of an electric vehicle sale. Biodiversity and care. Industry and nature can coexist. I have a 2-minute slide. Later on, you do that. Then global partnership. Quality is something extremely important for us. In fact, continuously for the last 7 or 8 years, we have been rated #1 by JD Power on quality considerations for most of the products. We have a good relationship with BMW. We started as more of a contract manufacturing. We now design manufacture, develop, and then for BMW. TQM and sustainability are two sides of the same coin. We strongly believe in TQM. TQM is nothing but discipline. Nothing but discipline. Have a process, follow the process. We call it as PDCA, plan, do, check, and act. Corrective actions ought to be taken. Prepare a QC story. It's a very powerful tool. Preparing a QC story, even I used to question in my earlier days, why are we wasting time on this? Then I learned it's extremely powerful. If properly done, properly implemented, it will not recur again the same problem. Sustainability is the same like. Have a discipline, have a process, ensure that it is properly followed. We will be successful. We follow some 6 capitals. One is financial, manufacturing. We discussed about what we do inside the manufacturing plant for effectively improving the productivity. Human, people are important. And in fact, again, I always used to say that I have worked in the factory for 10 years. Between 2000 and 2010, I was in the factory. Wherever I go to factory, I frequently visit, even now, at least once in a month. You get energized. Seeing the people there, 10,000 people working, and more so if you interact with the workmen, the ownership level is amazing. And that is more because of their involvement in the process. In fact, they will talk about the ESG. They know about it. To that extent, people are fully involved in the ESG related process. Social, we will discuss about what we do for the society. Natural capital, again, 5-10 minutes slide is there, which we will see that. Next. Next, please. This is about what benefit out of an electric vehicle. Every vehicle sold, it saves 0.15 tons of carbon dioxide in a year. In the last 3 years, we have saved around, what is the number? 3 lakh tons. The last 3 years. The penetration has just started. Today, the EV penetration is less than 5%. If everything goes well, so there is some sort of, I won't say little bit of softening, but by 2030 or 32, my estimate is close to 30 to 35% of the total two-wheelers seen in this country will be electric vehicles. Then imagine the saving of these emissions. Next slide. We spoke about how a battery, again, always used to, even I used to ask this question, what will happen to the battery? Lithium ion cells are imported or bought. It goes into the battery pack. That's what we call it as battery management system. It goes into the vehicle, which has a life of between 3 to 8 years. Safely, we can assume 5 years. A battery life is 5 years. At the end of the 5th year, there are segregation facilities. Then it can be segregated and brought, a life can be given back, a secondary life can be given back to the battery, which will have another 3 years, the second life of application. So overall, say 5 to 8 years. And through the mechanical and chemical process, we can bring back some of the materials back into the lithium ion cell manufacturing. Effectively, 90% plus battery materials can be recycled and reused. This is very, very important because all of us think, even I used to think, what will happen to this battery after the life? It will go to the dustbin. It's again, it creates pollution, but that's not the case. It is very much possible to recycle the battery and we can take back 90% of that. Next. What we do, I think we have talked enough, but I want to speak about few things. Persons with disabilities in 2021, the first batch we took, 22 numbers. We have close to 250 people in the organization. In fact, in my finance department, the factory, I have a few people. Superb. Their productivity is superb. In fact, some of our people are trying to learn their language, their way of talking. They can't speak. So, and it is their productivity, their commitment we have a duty to ensure, our chairman has given us a target, a percentage of people have to be from this category. And they are no way they are inferior to us. God has given certain great qualities to them. They are more intelligent, they are more efficient. So all of us should carry that message with us. And we have been given a great place to work, certified also. There are a lot of certifications in between. This is an interesting slide. We have tamed the channels around 21. We have desilted 283 times. We have planted 750,000 trees. Afforestation, we have done 14,000 plus acres. We have 65,000 women working in the self-help group systems. We are generating $12 million per annum. We have renovated schools, health centers. It is something special to our chairman emeritus. He spends considerable time. In fact, we have a huge team working only on the CSR activities. Even in our real estate company, we have a real estate company. We have, instead of CSR, there it is called a CER. In our project, wherever our projects are there, we have committed, it's again mandated, government has mandated. There are certain, the schools to be renovated, tanks to be cleaned, which we do very, very seriously. So we all believe, thanks to again, Chairman Emeritus, we believe that this is something which is very important. All of us should do something for the society. I'm extremely fortunate because I have also worked in the CSR arm in between. Even now I'm taking care overall, but I had the opportunity to work more closely in the CSR activities. You get us, your satisfaction level will be much more than what we get as a salary on the first of every month. This we have to believe. Again, I always say certain things. Coming to factory, seeing is believing, and sometimes doing is believing. When you do this activity, you get that immense satisfaction giving back to the society. Next. This again, we have discussed most of the things, 97%. And we are the highest RE consumer in India. We have generated the rainwater harvesting long back. In 1990 itself, we have done rainwater harvesting in our factory. Next. Again, in our housing projects, we ensure that the water savings are there, more greenery is given, electricity is saved extensively, 25 to 30% of saving, more lights, natural lights are given to our housing. So it's again, ESG considerations are taken care even in our real estate business. Okay, to summarize, only one thing I can say that we are uniquely placed. We have a largest responsibility. We are very fortunate that we have a finance qualification. We know numbers, we know analytics, we know now digitalization is happening. With digitalization, AI, who else can do other than us? That's what I strongly feel. More these issues we have discussed, whether it is a strategic integration or financial oversight. Reporting, I'm not touching because my friend Arun is having a session this evening on reporting, so let me not talk more about it. Investor relationship, they expect it. They expect it. This is about the summary of what I feel we have a larger role to play. And any questions can be, the 2 minutes slide, you just put that, please. That's important. People should see that. All of us should see that. I don't know whether I have made sense today, but I like this session because I gave me an opportunity to go through some of the materials, though we have doing a lot of things, but I could relate to some of the theoretical part.
It is said that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. And to plant a forest, you must start with a sapling. This is a man-made forest. that exists in harmony with an auto manufacturing facility. It would be hard to imagine that a few decades ago, this forest was no more than a dust bowl. Desolate, dry land which had no water and very little life. It was in 1979, when the TVS factory was set up in Hosur, that the landscape got a second chance. The founders of TVS believed that the environment, community, and people are the delicate, indelible threads that hold the fragile tapestry of life intact. Their principle was simple. We humans must live and coexist in harmony with nature. In a battle lasting several years, the notorious and invasive Suba Bowl, which covered most of the estate and the local area, was removed, so that the land could be rewilded with native species. TVS consulted conservationists to trace back native and endemic species and planted and nurtured them until nature took over. Water was life-giving, and the trees grew into a forest. It was a matter of time before birds and animals started calling this man-made forest home. Soon it was teeming with indigenous flora and fauna, native species of trees, birds, and reptiles that returned to reclaim their habitat. The reward of the hard work put in by TVS and its employees was witnessed in 2002 by the Chairman Emeritus, Venu Srinivasan, who, while visiting the factory, noticed painted storks sitting in the trees and wading in the depths of the pond, occasionally pulling out fish. The shy storks had found a new safe haven, and this strengthened his resolve to further the TVS commitment to conservation. Soon, scores of migratory birds made the TVS factory an annual stop on their route, not only staying for a while, but feeling protected enough to roost and give birth to the next generation.
Thank you very much. It's a 20 minutes presentation. We have requested them to have 2-3 minutes. It clearly demonstrates that industry and nature can coexist. It's inside the factory. It's not somewhere outside. It's exactly next to our R&D center. It's something which, time permitting, whenever you are there around that side, seeing is believing. So we can even organize the visit. That's very important. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Deskan. A wonderful presentation, and I think the video also demonstrated it's not just about talk and hype, not just practice and preaching, but also practicing. Very nice. There are a few questions. Maybe I'll just take one in the interest of time. There is a young finance professional from Salem. Said, sir, you mentioned the changing role of finance professionals. Do you suggest that young finance professionals like me should take more interest in production, manufacturing, operations, etc.? If so, where to start, keeping ESG in mind?
Oh, very interesting question. In fact, that's the reason why I started my presentation, how I visualized a CFO and where we stand today. We have the advantage of being part of partnering. We are not necessarily that you need to be in the production, not necessarily you need to be in one function. You can continue to be in the finance function. Being involved in the planning process. In fact, in our organization, the planning process starts now. For the next 2 months, there will be a lot of cross-functional team. And if you can participate in the planning process, it will give an overview about the industry, the atmosphere, how it's going to be going forward, what products we are going to launch, what production technologies we need to we are going to implement, what investments we are going to make. You will get a broad overview. Only one thing is important, which I always used to say. As finance people, please don't confine your role only to an accountant or a finance role. That's why I also said the reporting after the event is one. They are important. See, when we are signing the balance sheet today, I must ensure the authenticity of the number, timely giving. But we should own the numbers. For owning the number, you need to understand the business. For understanding the business, I always used to say this. I'm very fortunate in my organization. God has been kind to me. I had a chance to work 10 years. My chairman told me, go and dust your hands. You are in corporate office, you must go and dust your hands. That gave me an opportunity. My only request, please, wherever possible, go to the factory. If you're in a corporate setup, visit factory, understand. Don't send mails and get it. Involve in the process. Automatically, you will get to know. Not necessarily you need to start from one place. If understand the business, completely involve yourself, take ownership, be serious about the work, what you are doing, you will succeed.
Thank you, sir. Very practical answer. Ladies and gentlemen, may I request Group Captain Vijay Kumar and Mr. Suresh to come up on the stage to present a memento to Mr. Desigan. Mr. T.G. Suresh, please join. Let's thank him with a round of applause. You've taken your time off, your busy schedule today. We know how busy you are, sir. Thanks for taking your time off to be here. Thank you, Mr. Desigan. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are moving on to the special session 3. This is the session just before lunch. So, this is by Mr. M.P. Vijay Kumar, and he is going to present to you impact of revised SA 600 proposed by NFRA on the industry 12.00. Is my right, sir? So, may I request you to come and take a place on the dais. Let's welcome Mr. Vijay Kumar with a round of applause. So, Mr. Vijay Kumar is Executive Director and Group CFO of CFO Technologies. May I have his AV, please?
Mr. MP Vijay Kumar is the Executive Director and Group CFO of CFO Technologies, leading its transformation into a top enterprise IT and services player since 2007. Mr. Vijay is also a director on the boards of LIC, Heritage Foods, Geojit Securities, and ONGC Petro Additions, and has held various leadership roles in accounting and finance boards, including the ICAI and IFRS. With extensive experience in investment banking, corporate finance, and regulatory affairs, he is a recognized speaker and author on accounting and corporate law.
May I now request Mr. Vijay Kumar to share his views, please?
So thank you, Gopal, for that wonderful session. I'm listening to you second time on the topic within 6 months, and that video is so very emotional, and I still remember even last occasion you made this invite to come to the factory. So I'm very keen that I should visit it. So hopefully sometime soon. Sincere thanks to MMA, Managing Committee, and the Executive Director, Captain Vijay Kumar, for the invite, and also to TGS for having put my name across to Captain Vijay Kumar for inviting me for this event today. Just 2 points I'd like to mention before I get into the topic per se. In fact, I've been observing MMA's progress over a period of time. And one of the reasons is I've been fascinated by the kind of work Captain Vijay Kumar has been doing. In fact, I have not interacted with him, but Pattabhiram has been a very close friend of him. TJ is a very close friend of him. They're very close friends of mine who are very close friends of him, but I have never had an opportunity, despite he being my namesake, for whatever reason. Both of us started our careers in 2000. He started 2007 here. I started 2007 in SIFI. He continues to be young as he was in 2007. I don't know what secret he follows, but my organization has sucked me fully and what I am today. But nevertheless, extremely delighted with my very recent interactions with him. In fact, I've been in this kind of space where I participate in CIA events, institute events, so many organization events. But somehow at MMA, even though my connect is very, very recent, very recent, even more though my company is a member of MMA for a long time, my personal association is pretty recent. But the kind of administrative strength this organization has fascinates me. I just tell you, I don't know how big is the team, all that. I have no clue of all of that stuff, how they coordinate themselves. When this particular program was conceived, the speed at which he was exchanging the mails to conclude the entire session topics and the speakers, it was almost like within 3-4 hours, everything was done and dusted. But more importantly, and there's a little bit of an emotional connect I got into today morning, actually. He spoke to me about 2 days back on an idea of setting up a CFO forum within MMA. So I was in Bombay at that time. And between the time I've got on the flight to take off, by the time I land, he gives me a complete idea of what he wants to do. He said, do you have any suggestions? I gave some suggestions. He said, yeah, I've already factored it. I said, okay, fine. Let it happen, whatever it is. And then today morning, I saw on the website, there's an ebook which is published on the CFO forum. And this particular, what you see on the left-hand side, that MMA logo, I picked it up from the website today. I thought that's a little bit of gratitude I can pay for on behalf of all of us for the work he and his team does. That this initiative of CFO Forum, which is actually launched today morning at 9:45 or 10. But I saw this in the website in the morning around 5 o'clock. So I decided to pick it up. And all my slides, normally I use only the blue font. But this particular, whatever the brochure, had this deep gray closer to black. So I sat down and changed all my slides to get to that color font. I thought that's the minimum I can do for him. But otherwise, I generally stay away from deep gray or black, but I did it for him. So thank you, Captain Vijay Kumar and your team, for the wonderful work all of you do. In fact, there's also one of those rare occasions where I thought I'll not wear a jacket or a coat and come. So I don't know why I took that decision, but I took that decision. But there is so much of air conditioning, and I'm actually struggling quite a bit. Probably a message that I'm aging and no, it's okay. I should realize I'm aging. So the fact that I'm aging, and also that future meetings, I should definitely carry a coat. Wearing or not is a different choice, but I should carry one with me. So good afternoon to all of you, and extremely happy to be part of this session today. So I think we have 1 hour time. I'll try to summarize my thoughts in about 40-45 minutes. I'll leave some 10-15 minutes for conversation or interaction between us. On this particular topic, all of you are finance professionals, and I'm sure you are keeping a track of what's happening in the space between the institute, NFRA, and unfortunately, it's occupied media space. Very unfortunate. What could have given the wisdom of the people who are there, all of it could have been very easily resolved, made it very stress-free, and still got to where we all want to be. But whatever returns happened. But why I decided to speak on this topic today was because I knew that most of the people here would be industry people. And my experience of interacting on this topic, almost everyone had an impression that this particular SA 600 is an issue pertaining to the practicing chartered accountants and audit firms, which is not the case. If at all SA 600 impacts anyone, it is the entity, the auditee, the CFO organization, the audit committee. It is those people who will be severely affected by and who have to increase their planning and time allocation, resource allocation for complying with the requirements of SA 600. Most organizations, as they grow, invariably you end up with 3, 4, 5 subsidiaries, 1, 2 associates, 1, 2 joint ventures. You invariably end up. You also end up with situations where some of them are overseas subsidiaries. You also end up with small distribution companies, procurement companies. You end up with a few entities like this. It's not possible to have the parent company auditor to be the auditor of all the auditee companies in the group. Invariably, you will have at least 30-40% of the entities, if not in terms of the economic value, at least in terms of count, at least 30-40% of entities which will be audited by another auditor. So in today's context, typically what the parent company management does, the financial reporting group does, the board does, audit committee does is the financials are collated, apply whatever principles of consolidation, and they go through the process of audit and then audit committee and approval. So you do not find the parent company auditors deeply engaging with the auditors of the various entities in the group and sharing their expectations of how the work needs to be done, what are the risks they would like to be assessed. You don't have that extensive dialogue. There could be some minimum dialogue which might be there, but you don't have an extensive dialogue which is there. So people just do that collation kind of an activity. But with SA 600 revise, only one neck to choke, which is the parent company auditor, who is called as the group auditor. And the group auditor has to necessarily include all the component auditors. The component auditors could be firms of different size, different experience, different branding, and you need to take all of them into your fold and make them part and parcel of your engagement team. They will not be treated as a separate audit firm. They'll be counted as part of your parent company engagement team. So that particular subsidiary auditor could be a domestic subsidiary, it could be an overseas subsidiary, or it could be an overseas branch. That auditor will be treated as part of the parent company's auditor's engagement team, and the engagement partner will decide and tell, this is how I think you have to do the work to meet my expectations of signing off on the group audit. That's the kind of shift.
And if those auditors have to work on a seamless basis, and we all experience situations where within the organization itself, most CFOs or even the CEOs have to end up with doing some panchayat kind of activity between the auditor and our own employees, our own team members. Now that panchayat has now extended beyond to do that panchayat kind of activity with the other audit firms also, because each one would have a perspective. In fact, more often than not, all of them will agree on same thing, but just because you asked, I will not tell you the number. So it's a very common psyche. In fact, most of us also as preparers. In fact, I have been a preparer myself. I used to prepare the financial statement, stand before my auditor. All of that I have gone through. But the natural tendency, you asked, so I will not give. Otherwise, I would have given you, but because you asked, I will not give. Because you asked it last minute, I will not give you. Because last time you did. So these are all very human behavioral aspects. Now, imagine with all the pressures of quarterly audits, timelines and all, and managing that ecosystem of multiple auditors, where the other auditors can be size-wise bigger than the parent auditor, or vice versa, all of them to come together and do work is not an easy task. And that responsibility is now with the CFO's organization and with the audit committee to ensure all of that maturity materializes. So whatever I share now, all of these are my personal views, and I just want to leave one important rider at the beginning. Normally, I would leave my slide deck behind for people to use, but this is a very political and very sensitive topic. And given that there's a closed audience, I'm going to share my own understanding and my own views on this. So I'm not going to leave the slide deck behind for circulation. The reason is somebody could quote something from the slide deck out of context. I might have thought something and told you here, but somebody can read it quite independently. So I'm not sharing the slide deck for that only reason. If any slide you would like to make notes, please feel free to make a note of the same. Now, so I'll spend time on essentially three things. I'll just give a little bit of a backdrop, and then why this entire trigger happened for the revised SA 600, which is a Control-C, Control-V, or for those who are Apple fans, Command-C, Command-V, of the corresponding international standard of audit, ISA 600. And of all the 46 audit standards we have, 46 audit standards, 44 standards which we have in India for whatever long period of time are exactly the same as international standards of audit. No differences whatsoever. Only two standards we are different because we believe it's a developing economy and whatever reasons. One is the standard on joint audit. Another is the standard on group audits. Only two standards we are different from the international practice. But why good, bad, ugly? That's a different matter. So I'll not get judgmental on this. I'll just place facts before you. The second, I'll give some quick understanding of the current SA 600 and the proposed SA 600, which NFRA intends to make it applicable if government blesses from 1/4/2026. And then I'll spend a little bit time on some items we all need to think. We need to think as professionals. I have collated about 16 points to think. The 16th one is the best one, so you have to necessarily wait for that 16th one. And last is our time, where you all need to participate. Now, this is a circular of NFRA, which is less than 2 months old. I'm not too sure if all of you have socialized it with your respective organizations, with the audit committees and the boards concerned, and where NFRA has said, forget new SA 600, forget new SA 600. NFRA goes to the extent of saying that even existing SA 600 requires the principal auditor to engage continuously with the other component auditors and ensure that all the potential risk of material misstatements are identified, audit work is planned accordingly, and finally the audit opinion is formed. And this circular, the couple of slides, I'm not going to read all the slides. It goes on to say, the circular goes on to say that the management, board of directors is bound by the Companies Act to prepare consolidated financial statements. So neither Gopal Desikan nor I can sit here and say that subsidiary, somebody else is preparing financial statements, whatever. And if there are errors in those, I can disown them. That question does not arise. That question does not arise. The same principle applies to the auditors as well. So auditors cannot say that subsidiary is audited by someone else. And any mistakes out of that, I will carry it as it is. That luxury is just not available. So NFRA's observation, erasing all these 5 observations are from the Cafe Coffee Day incident which is there. So all of these observations came up from that particular experience for NFRA. And NFRA has said, look, don't take a hair-splitting view or go on the strength of the words. The spirit of the current SA 600 is the parent company auditor is responsible for the same. And they've gone ahead to say that the component auditors cannot take shelter and say, I will not share working papers with the parent auditor. The component auditors, in the view of NFRA, because audit standards are mandatory under Companies Act, the component auditors are legally bound to share with the parent company auditors. And just look at the tone of the last para, which is Control C, Control V here. So what it says is, look at the wordings which NFRA says, that circular. It says that the auditors of all the entities covered by NFRA, which is listed companies and unlisted companies with a threshold, capital above, I think 500 crores, turnover above 1,000 crores. So all these entities who are covered by NFRA, look at the language in the last paragraph. It says that, it reads that, are insisted, the auditors are insisted to, these are not the words which anybody normally uses, insisted to scrupulously. So these kind of words we look at how much anger and how much kind of disturbance they would have gone through for coming across this kind of word in a circle, scrupulously adhere to the circular and carrying out their audits of all the public interest entities. So this is the background on which the revised SA 600 has come now. So current SA 600 versus the proposed SA 600. The current SA 600 is basically a standard which talks about wherever you have other auditors, it says that if it is audited by another chartered accountant and who comes from the same institute, same disciplinary mechanism, you can assume that work has been done correctly and consequently you can rely upon it. And in your audit report, you can explicitly mention that I have relied on the work which has been done by so-and-so auditor and express the percentage of revenues which you have audited, percentage of revenues which are audited by another person. Whereas the corresponding ISA 600, which is the SA 600 revised, which is there, it does not, it's a little different context. It talks about special considerations to be applied while doing the group audits, And in that context, it goes to say that only the group auditor is responsible for all the components of the consolidated financial statements. The group auditor has to treat component auditors as members of the engagement team, do the planning, allocate the work, oversee the work, give instructions, visit the sites if required, the subsidiary operations, whatever, visit the sites if required, all of that needs to be done. So that's the extent of requirement is there. And all of this which needs to be done needs to be documented on a continuous basis. You need to keep documenting as what the parent company auditor and the group auditor is doing it. whether it is the old SA 600 or the new SA 600, both of them have only one focus, improving the quality of audit at a group financial statement level. These are a couple of slides on the existing SA 600, where you have the expression called principal auditor, your principal expression called other auditor, whereas in the proposed XA 600, we don't have the expression principal auditor. Instead, it is called group auditor. And instead of other auditor, they're called as component auditor. So a couple of expression changes which are there. So these are some definitions of the existing standard. And even in the existing standard, when you're preparing consolidated financial statements, if there is audit of subsidiary done by somebody else, branch done by somebody else, division done by somebody else, joint venture by somebody else, associate by somebody else, the principal auditor is already duty bound. That's the NFRA's strong view, and they have come out with that circular which is binding for all the NFRA governed entities. And it talks about the only freedom here is if it is audited by the another member who is a chartered accountant, you can accept the work done as qualitatively done. That's the freedom which currently exists. Now, on proposed SA 600, NFRA has my own personal view between NFRA and Institute. They could have worked together and easily resolved this matter. In fact, the way NFRA has proposed it, if this particular ideation or if this particular kind of a exception was possible, Institute probably would have done it long back. Today, as we speak, all audit standards are applicable for all entities, irrespective of size, irrespective of public interest, they're applicable to all entities. So Institute's bigger concern always has been that when you bring up a standard like SA 600 revise, it is likely to impact, all said and done, it's likely to impact the small, medium practitioners. This is a developing economy. And when Desikan talked about government giving support for electrical vehicles, and all, so there is some support which you give depending on the maturity. That support will cease after that industry achieves a 30% share, 40%. It's not going to be there forever. But until it achieves, you need that support. So similarly, for the small, medium practitioners, it does take the time. People can say it's a 75-year-old economy, 75. You can say all of those stuff, but the hard reality is, if you look at the per capita income of the country, we're still only about $2,000 kind of a number. So look at those small entities and things like that. It's still to get an economic mass. So in that context, there is that pressure on the small, medium practitioners. So what NFRA has said is, we will make this standard applicable only for public interest entities. And in that, they have also excluded, which was the biggest concern, excluded public sector banks, public sector insurance companies, and the branches. And for small, medium practitioners, that was the biggest concern. That was the biggest concern where the central statutory auditor could probably usurp the entire work which was done by so much of branch audits which today exist. Good, bad, ugly, this different issue, but it does exist today. So what NFRA said is, even if it is a listed bank, whether it's State Bank or Union Bank or Bank of Baroda, doesn't matter. We will exclude all public sector companies, BHEL, this, that, BEML, all public sector companies are exempt. All the public sector banks are exempt. All the public sector insurance companies are exempt. So once that big mass is exempt, so it hardly affects the audit community, given the trade-off that this improves the overall quality, Whether this exemption is good, I'm not debating it. I'm not getting that. But NFRA found this kind of a midway path, at least to ensure that some audit community concerns are taken care and they scope this out completely. And typically, these are all audits, any case where large firms don't come in. So whether it's public sector companies, public sector banks, public sector insurance company, in any case, the large firms don't come in and all. So question of cannibalizing an Indian accounting firm suffering also doesn't arise. They believe these organizations carry higher risk, so they don't come anywhere there. They're happy with taking all consulting income out of those, and they're not there. So that's the case what NFRA has done. So we have this terms called group auditor. We have this term called component auditor. Group auditor is the parent auditor who is actually preparing the consolidated financial. Component is for any of the entities or divisions or branches which are there. And these few slides essentially talk about the conversation or the work sharing between the parent auditor or the group auditor and the various component auditors which are there. So their division of responsibilities, how working papers need to be shared, access to working papers, even visiting the subsidiary client. Even though subsidiary is audited by somebody else, the parent auditor can still go visit the site, interact with the people. All of those have been provided for here. So that's about the revised SA 600. So let me come to the score, which is the 16 points which I mentioned, and I'll genuinely try to leave 15 minutes for your interaction now. So these are 16 points. I would like you all to have a good understanding. Institute of Chartered Accountants of India is a founding member of the International Federation of Accountants. And globally, all the countries' accounting bodies are members of IFAC. And Institute, in its 75 years of history, has been contributing substantially to the standards development globally. And as I told you a little while ago, 44 of the 46 standards, we have adopted them exactly as it is, no edits, except these two standards. So Institute cannot be blamed that Institute is not interested in quality, Institute is behind, nothing like that. There are two standards where Institute has its own concerns based on the demographic situations, economic situations. One is on joint audit, other is with reference to the group audits. The reason is globally, in many developed countries, large countries, many of the smaller entities, audit is not mandatory. And in many jurisdictions, there are multiple accounting body professionals who can sign audited financial statements. Unlike India, where audited financial statements can be signed only by a chartered accountant who is bound by the code of ethics of the Institute of Chartered Accountants and disciplinary mechanism. If you take any other country, let's say Middle East or any other country, anywhere in the world, you can have a member who is not a local accounting body. For example, US. There are accounting firms in India, about 20 accounting firms in India, who have a PCOB registration. They can sign the financial statements of a US company which is listed there. They're eligible to sign. So you have a situation where there's a member of ACCA, member of AICW, there's a member of ICA. Like this, there are a member of Australian CPA, Australian Chartered Accountants. So like that, there are many bodies. So we don't have that problem. So Institute in its wisdom felt we need to have that mutual respect as professionals. So if another chartered accountant of the same body is signed, why go through this process? Let's respect that. That's how the Institute has seen over a period of time. If there is time to revisit that, I think it has to be revisited without need to having hot water under the feet and try to do it within few weeks and few days and all. It can take its little bit of time to engage and converse. But nevertheless, what has happened is happened. What is important for all of us to recognize is all of us align with G20 as a key benchmark. Out of the G20 countries, almost about 16 countries follow ISA 600 as it is. 16 countries follow as it is. One of the countries which is opaque and they will do whatever they feel appropriate, China. I don't think we would ever look at that as an example. Then there are a couple of other countries whose names I'm not too familiar. People keep quoting US. So to say that US follows a little different approach. US also follows ISA 600 as it is with a very small difference, where the component auditor, the subsidiary auditor, when he gives his report, if he gives a report saying that my report cannot be used by you, in that situation alone, the parent company auditor has to say that I audited everything except this component, and this component I relied upon whatever was finally signed by him. I did not engage him there. That's the only difference. But those differences in practice, as a group auditor level, audit committees, boards, they don't encourage that. But why they have that is because typically most US companies operate in multiple jurisdictions, multiple parts of the world, and those cases consolidating becomes a little difficult. But otherwise, ISA 600 is not something which is so very complex to adopt. It's something which the world has been doing it for a reasonably long period of time, and here it is with us here in India. Second important point we should realize is that the current SA 600 was issued way back in 2002. And in 2002, and maybe some of you were just born at the time, in 2002, consolidated financial statements concept did not exist in India. So that concept itself was not there. Consolidated financial statement sort of became mandatory in 2006-7. Then 2013 Act, it became applicable to unlisted companies and things like that. But otherwise, consolidated financial statement was not a big one. SEBI alone used to require it. But SEBI's requirement also, everybody saw it as an arithmetic addition. Nobody really applied the consolidated entity as an economic unit. So this standard was formed way back in 2002. And 22 years later, at that time, we were probably less than 1 trillion economy. Now we are 4 trillion. So much of change has happened. So it's important that we should look at this particular standard getting revised. That's the second background we need to keep in mind. The third very important thing is, for those who are practitioners of audit, in the audit standards, you have 100 series, 200 series, 300 series, 500 series, 600, 700 series. Each series has a different connotation. Like, for example, 300 series is about planning, 500 series is about evidence and special procedures, 700 series is on the audit reporting, like that. The 600 series is about relying on the work of another professional. 600 series is the statutory auditor relying on the work of another professional. So in that context, you have the standard 610, which talks about the statutory auditor relying on the work of the internal auditor. Similarly, we have the standard 620 dealing with the statutory auditor relying on the work of, let's say, a valuer, an actuary, or another professional. In those two standards, which are also 600 series, it does not have the exemption. It does not have the exemption of testing the professional competence. For example, if I am a statutory auditor and someone else is an internal auditor, if I have to accept the work he has done, the standard puts a responsibility on me. He may be chartered accountant senior than me, whoever it is. It puts a responsibility on me that I should satisfy myself about his competence. Only then I should accept the work. Just because he's a chartered accountant, he's 10 years elder to me, it doesn't matter. The reason of competence is because today, take my case. Let's assume for a moment, I have no NBFC experience. I started my career in NBFC long back, Sundaram Finance, but now I have nothing to do with NBFC industry. Now, if I were to do an NBFC audit, obviously I have no clue of the RBI circulars and all of those stuff which is there, how that industry operates. I have no clue of it. So just because I have 30 years of experience, I am a chartered accountant, doesn't mean I am competent enough either to do an internal audit or a statutory audit. And that does not mean competence. So if somebody is going to rely on the work which is done by me, let's say Raja of Balu, G Balu is going to rely on the work which I am doing. So at that time, Raja has to say that, look, you don't have any experience on internal audit, on NBFC, so I am not going to rely on your work. I am going to get the work done separately. Unless I am satisfied, I will not rely on that particular work. The same is true for SA 620 also. Like, for example, valuer or whether it is an actuary, The statutory auditor should satisfy himself or herself that that person has the competence. Whereas when it comes to component auditor, we did not carry that clause. We excluded and said, if you're a chartered accountant, I'll accept it as it is. I think it doesn't sync all of them together. I think that's the other point we need to keep in mind, because when you have a framework, you have to apply it uniformly. That's the second point. The third point is consolidated financial statements today are the primary financial statements, whether it's investors and even bankers have started relying on consolidated financial. While they look at standalone for credit limit setting and all that kind of stuff, but still they look at the group level financial statements. But investors invariably look at only group financial statements, and consequently at the group level, the auditor has to take responsibility for all the components of the group and cannot say that parent I'm taking care, rest of it I'm doing an arithmetic addition. That doesn't work. The fourth is investors rely only on that, and management, audit committee, board, all of them are responsible. And with PSUs and PSU banks and insurance exempt, my own assessment is there will be some impact on the small, medium audit firms practitioners, but that impact, considering the overall long-term benefit of quality and economic size and more investment and more confidence on finance statement, that trade-off is a trade-off which is worth to be considered. The fifth is, this is a very serious issue, and I'm sure that Desikan will have this problem. I will also have this problem. All of us have this problem where we have the parent we have holding companies at the top. We have the promoter holding companies at the top. If you take company like Bajaj, Bajaj has the holding company. It's an unlisted company, which is a listed company. But for many of us, the promoter companies are unlisted companies. And in the unlisted companies, private limited companies, where there is just share capital and investment in this company, group companies, that particular company, typically an accounting firm is not an accounting firm which has huge teams and capacity. Those accounting firms are people who have very niche specialized knowledge on taxation aspects, FEMA aspects, company law aspects, and they serve as confidant of the promoters. So that's the kind of audit firms you have at the promoter holding company level. And the subsidiaries are all operating companies, which are large operating companies, which are market cap of 30,000 crore, 10,000 crore, 50,000 crores. And these are audited by firms which are very large firms. So now imagine there is this promoter company, small audit firm who has a 7-people firm, proprietary firm, or 2-partner firm. And below you have these which are controlled entities, market cap 30,000 crore, 50,000 crore companies. And that entity, audit firm, will become a member of the parent company group auditor, because you're consolidating at his level. So that's a group level. So imagine this small firm of 7 partners or 2 partners with 20 staff, and then you have this large audits are there, and you tell that you listen to what I say. No, just enjoy all of that experience. We'll all see that hope. But there, I'm sure the principal shareholder, the CFO, the other audit committee members will ensure that there is a good working relationship which gets established. That's why I tell this standard is less to do with auditors. It's more to do with the industry, because we have a time pressure like every quarter, before 20 days, before 25 days, and every time audit committee will tell, next time you should report 2 days before. So you have to do it until it comes to 15th date. They'll keep pressurizing every time that you have to do it. And there are reasons also why that needs to be done, because it stops the trading days, reduces the trading days of the stock. So many reasons are there. So that pressure will always be there. So with that kind of a pressure, ensuring the seamless kind of a working is going to be a difficult one. And unlike many jurisdictions where component auditors are not mandatory, in India it is mandatory. So many people feel, since that audit is mandatory, why don't we acknowledge it and just accept it as it is? And audit committees and boards, this is a very important point actually. The small, medium firms, many of them feel that with this SA 600 revised, the parent company auditor will insist that these auditors have to be removed and only we should be appointed. I think it is a far-fetched assumption because I don't think the audit committees or the boards will just accept it and say that just because you want to do those components, we'll replace them and all. We will all encourage only for them to work together, and they will not acknowledge and tell that by removing an existing auditor, you are acknowledging that he is not competent. I don't think any audit committee is going to take that kind of a step. So they will all see how the component auditors, if required, if scaling up is required, how they will scale up and all. So the fear that they will be removed and all, they'll be asked to remove. I'm sure audit committees will stand their foot and say that they're good auditors. And when rotation happens, when you leave, I require another firm to step in who knows the entire group. So people will try to manage with 3-4 auditors and not say that only one person will do all the 30 companies in the chain and all. It's very unlikely to happen. While people have a concern on that, but I don't think at least well-managed companies will not go that particular path. And there's a good potential for capacity building in this context. Many of the component auditors, probably when you work with other audit firms, the documentation procedures, etc., you get an opportunity to improve upon yourself. And this particular one point we have to remember in India, which is unfortunate, is the equivalent of NFRA. Rest of the world deals only with listed companies. In India, when we were supposed to make noise, we missed out. And NFRA today deals with listed companies as well as unlisted companies. It doesn't happen elsewhere. PCOB in US, people keep quoting PCOB, but that deals only with listed companies. It doesn't deal with unlisted companies. But unfortunately in India, it deals with unlisted companies, 500 crore capital. What is 500 crore capital? Hardly 50 million. 50 million is the capital. And so many businesses get covered. So, but that's one part. Hopefully, if government can address that, that can make life a little easier. And also we need to understand there are many Indian MNCs where Indian companies like Bharti having operations in Africa, operations Sri Lanka. So many companies have activities there. So all along, global MNCs having operations here, that auditor gives you instructions and you follow. Now it's a power for you. With revised SA 600, I can tell the auditor of the UK subsidiary, I can tell auditor of the African subsidiary that I need to get work done in this particular way. So you are actually building capacity for Indian firms to go and engage with the audit community elsewhere in the world. You need to look at it from that perspective also, what implications it has. Audit fees is another subject which I think audit committees generally have to be very empathetic. My view, currently audit fees are extremely low. I'm sure Desika and all of us will agree on this. But unfortunately, we are unable to increase audit fee because when you get the quotations or proposals, always the proposal comes for a fee which is less than the previous auditor fee. So when you have a proposal from an established firm coming like that, how would you go and say that I will give you an extra fee? It becomes, I've experienced this. I've experienced it without exception. I've seen every time proposal comes like that. They look at the last audit fee figure in the last annual report and the quote a figure which is 10% lower than that. So what do? You can't voluntarily say, go take more fee, you know, you have that particular problem. So I think somewhere the ecosystem needs to change. Audit firms hopefully should get consolidated. Parent audit committees, there should be capacity building. I just want to conclude with this point number 16 and then leave the floor to you. One is like in, if you look at the very human psychology, no disrespect to anyone, pardon me if I'm saying this. I've seen accounting firms. I've been in practice myself for about 9 years. For practicing chartered accountant, they have this fancy for name. My name should be there in the firm's name. So I join a firm grows, I also contribute. After some time, my name is not there, only his name is there. That's been a bigger, very big concern in terms of capacity building. The same in the context of this audit also, group audits. Only group auditor name will come. The remaining auditor's name will not come. So that is one of the big concern in this SA 600. People are hesitating to tell, but that's one of the concerns. We can easily solve it by telling that publish those names. What is there? You have to put only in one page, you have to put the auditors of components. You need not refer to the report. At least you can put the names and say that, okay. So people will tell that I am also doing auditor for one subsidiary of TVS Motor. So in his profile, when he talks, he says, I'm auditing TVS Motors subsidiary. So that's a different part, but at least for people that's important. You can add that. So that's one way to address that capacity concerns which are there. You can allow that. Currently, it does not allow. So we can consider that. Second is as audit committees, we should encourage at least 20-30% of the entities. If I have 10 entities, maybe some 2-3 entities, let it be audited by other audit firms. That will be capacity building. So when this rotation happens, these guys can step in there. These guys can step in there instead of getting somebody afresh. So that way, some of the concerns which the other firms have, those concerns can also be addressed. We all can't put this through a regulatory process, but at least we can have market development practices which can happen here. That will take care of many of the concerns which the practitioners, chartered accounting firms have. And like IRDA and all, IRDA has put restrictions saying that you can audit only one insurance company, only one life, and between two audits, you require a cooling period and all. So some kind of restrictions, quantitative restrictions can be brought in if people feel that they'll be cannibalizing, because quality is important. So we should not sacrifice quality because of these reasons. So these reasons, you should solve it differently. We should solve it differently. And there probably the regulator can come and tell. If some audit firms are getting removed because of the standard, the regulator should step in and say, look, this behavior is not acceptable. Like we had situations of auditor resignations and all. So some similar kind of mechanism can be brought in that will address the concern. Because the repeated point I'm trying to highlight to you is, SA 600 revise is about quality. The concerns are about whether the smaller firms or the other firms will get cannibalized. Instead of compromising quality, look at how to solve this particular issue. So these are some solutions which are there. And if these can be taken care, hopefully the revised SA 600 can come in a better form. They are planning to come from 1/4/26. I think it's a little early because capacity building takes time. Because by the time government notifies all that stuff, maybe 1/4/27 could be a better one. So people will start preparing it, because you also need to find a mid path to give confidence to the stakeholders. So thank you all. I thought I'll give you 15 minutes, but only 10 minutes left now. So over to you, all of you. How do you foresee the revised 600 influencing governance and risk management industries with complex governance? I expect it to improve. As I mentioned in one of the points, there will be the accounting firms in India. If there are subsidiaries or branches outside, there are opportunity to engage with those audit firms, learn those practices and improve. And they will also get greater confidence on the work which is happening there. So it should be positive. How will the revised SA 600 impact responsibilities and collaboration between group auditors and component? I think it will be friction. It will be friction. It's not going to be easy. I give you a very simple example, and I'm sure all of you are living that. I have lived that. I have lived that, where I had a situation where I had the auditors, they would not allow me to add a comma. And if in the schedule 6, if it was written as capital D, they wanted here also capital D only. If I put small d, they will not agree. Research and development, if it is capital D, they want small d only. I've come across auditors like that. So those kind of frictions will always be there. And typically, don't get me wrong, most of us here, as accountants, people, we think information is ours and we want to rule the company keeping the information like this. So we decide whom to give what information. That's a very common behavioral trait all of us have. I have been no exception. I have been no exception in the past. Now probably with all the lost hair, I'm different. But otherwise, when I was young, I was no different. You try to keep that information and say that you come to me, I will decide how much to give. So that's how the whole thing works. Now, with group auditors, component auditor, friction will be there. Like it, don't like it, it will be there. So the ability of the senior people, the CFO audit committee, to ensure that there is a harmonious working, coordinate those meetings and ensure people don't take opposite positions, information flow is seamless, that work will take time. I'm not expecting a frictionless environment. There will be friction. We need to be prepared for that. So at least you should be happy you have one more extra work to do. So then what key challenges CFOs face in ensuring compliance, blah, 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 how they proactively prepare. I think I've more or less covered this. So over to you, gentlemen and ladies. Yeah. Oh, scan. Okay, okay. Okay, okay.
With the new SA 600 that's being proposed, wouldn't the companies find it easier if they hire an auditor where the component auditor is also, the same as the group auditor?
Yes.
So
and
this
no.
could become actually a challenge, right? So
Yes and no, I would say. Yes and no. Because as a parent auditor, I would always like to, as an auditee, I'd always also like my parent auditor to be under check. So typically, we all have this divide and rule principle, which is there. No? So you'd also.
no, because sometimes the companies would have to also be part of,
We do a
resolving the
trade-off, Which one is
differences.
a better one? You do a trade-off, which one is a better one. But lighter things apart, I think what is important is people come with different expertise and also different rotation cycles. I'll give you a very simple example. Let's say, for example, TVS motor. And you have this TVS reality, which is there. I don't know, it's a subsidiary associate. I don't know what it is. Now, the parent company auditor may not have expertise to audit a real estate business. So those cases, I necessarily need to have an audit firm who has experience of auditing a real estate industry. Similarly, they could have a NBFC as a subsidiary. So parent company auditor may not have that expertise. Or even if he has an expertise, there are RBI rules which say that you can do only so many NBFC audits, so many banks. So there are those constraints which are there. I think the system will take care of ensuring that there are multiple audit firms. And I think people will look at bringing them together. I don't think people will change a component audit because of the standard. Maybe they'll use this excuse to tell you are not responding on a timely basis, your quality is not good. Maybe they will use this excess, but I don't think people will do it so blatantly. And as I told you in point number 16, I only hope the regulator steps in to ensure that audit committees and managements don't go overboard in pushing through the parent auditor down and replacing them. I hope it doesn't happen.
I just want to tell that even the
Yes,
SA 600, which is prevalent now, was not being followed properly in practice.
correct. That's what NFRA.
That is why NFRA is agitated.
That's what NFRA says.
So they want to make it very clear, black and white. Somebody has to take the responsibility, because I've been involved in such audits and I know how it goes.
Sir, all of us know, sir. No, sir. But sir, lighter things apart, I think we should understand all of these are about maturity over a period of time, sir. I don't think, see, if you look at the business environment in India and the regulatory environment, the way it operates, it's not an easy one as well. And if you look at the kind of reporting, disclosures, they're completely different compared to the rest of the world. It's not easy as well. So I think we shouldn't get to a prejudgment that the quality has been bad. People have done the best in the circumstances. I think that maturity is happening. I'm sure 10 years from now, we'll be a far better, more confidence-giving kind of a set of financial statements will be there. So in fact, I've seen global companies, sir, and I've seen domestic companies. And with due respects to all the global companies, most of our company audits, maybe because my exposure is largely South India, my exposure is largely the TVS group and all the kind of stuff. I would say qualitatively, our audits and financial statements are very good compared to many parts of the world. Many times we tend to belittle it actually. We tend to take it easy. Self-criticism is good, but it should not go to the extent of saying that it's bad. There is always scope for improvement, but globally, it's no great saint. It's no great.
Hi, sir. I'm Prateek. Slightly away from SA600, but since you brought the topic of NFRA, I'm asking this. On a governance or a policy perspective, when we think about the country and how it goes, now NFRA purely focuses on these listed companies and also unlisted companies, and maybe the public sector entities are kept out of the way, maybe because CNAG is there. Now, given that perspective, when CNAG being a government department, may be bound to corruption or whatever it is, because they do their own audits under the CFMs. Is it on a policy perspective, should we think of a way where NFRA takes over the work of CNAG also and these things and all that?
No. You should cut that idea in the bud itself.
Maybe why that perspective comes to you?
No. That idea should not even be discussed.
Okay.
I think each regulator has a different role, CNAG role is different. Regulator like RBI, SEBI and IRDA role is different. NFRA role is different. NFRA has two roles. One is with reference to being a recommendatory body for what standards need to be notified. The second is disciplinary action for a reason that you can't have the body who is setting the standard. In fact, today by law, institute is the standard setter. The recommendation of NFRA notified under law, but otherwise the standard setter by law, Companies Act is only the institute. So you can't have the same person regulating themselves. And globally, from ease of doing business ranking, one of the prerequisites was, do you have an independent accounting regulator who is a member of the International Forum of Independent Audit Regulators? So that was the requirement. So that is what triggered NFRA and things. What triggered NFRA is not institute being whatever you like to hear. It is because there was a need to improve on the ease of doing business ranking, because there is a need to become member of IFR, because you need to have an independent accounting body. That's how all of this has happened. I think there's space for all of us to coexist. CNAG has a very specific role. That's very specific. Yes.
Yeah. Sir, specific to this NFRA and CA controversy and that is going on, what NFRA initially has actually told, based on what I have seen from the media, is it is generally applicable only to 1.8% of the entire population of the companies. Say around 17 lakh companies are there, citing the NSE data and other things, CMA data, etc. And even if you take NFRA control over 25,000 odd companies, it is coming to only 7,000 companies, of which 80% are actually handled by very small and medium-sized accounting firms. Very few, 50 to 60 companies only come under the purview. I don't think why such a huge voice or noise is being made about this. So your comments on that.
So statistics are statistics. There is what is called lies, damn lies, statistics. Yeah, that's the first sentence in everything. So you can present it the way you want, but I think it's about economic value of those 17 lakh companies. Out of the 17 lakh companies registered in MCA, the operating companies are hardly 60, 70,000. Many of them are inoperative or asset holding companies and those kind of things. So you have to take statistics based on the actually operating companies which are there. And it's like the CA results. So people tell pass percentage is 4%, but the point is the remaining 96 never prepared for the exam. So it's 100% pass result, So like that here also it is the case. But lighter things apart. I think we need to understand that there is a body who has put their sweat over 75 years as a voluntary body pulling own resources, own time to get the profession to where it is. I think basic wisdom demands that you collaborate and do well. And nobody is objecting anything. If each one of them have space, you have to just work together and do it. In fact, if this idea of accepting banks was there, I think Institute would have done it on their own long time actually. So I think their bigger concern for Institute was the branch auditors of banks and all. If the central statutory auditor does, how will that work? They were more disturbed on that actually. So if this solution was there, my view, Institute would have done it long back, because rest of the companies, as those percentages say, it's not really very material, In fact, whether it is his entity, my entity and all, today for me at least, it's a common auditor I have, but even if I were to have other auditor, I don't think I will struggle much on that, sir. Not happen.
Thank you.
There is-
Thanks.
people are- It's sometimes it's emotional, sir. We have to. It's like the name in the firm, you know. People want the name in the firm of the audit firm. Like that, these are little emotional ones. They're less to do with objectivity there.
So we just have one question on digital that we were saying. No, we try to encourage people coming on digital. So one question has come. So I don't want to discourage that person. The name is not given. The question is, in case of group companies within a group, how would this principal and component audit apply? In case of group companies within a group, how would this principal and component audit apply?
And because the person has the digital question,
Yeah.
the person will be sponsored for travel to TVS Motor House. So on his behalf, I'm committing. So either he can pick up the bill or I'll pick up the bill. Okay, fine, no problem. So like, coming back here, so there would always be some groups. Like for example, my own organization also has that. And I'm sure he will also. There is a listed company here, operating company, who will have 3-4 subsidiaries. So there's one consolidated financial statement here. And then there is a promoter holding company, or it can be another operating company also. So where all of this will fold into that. So I don't know who's asked the question, but this will again fold into that. So that entity, again, the same group audit principles will apply. So for this person who is at the top, this group auditor will be part of the engagement team. The problem is you are not auditor anymore. You are part of an engagement team. So psychologically, he has to say that being part of an engagement team, somebody should not say like I'm an employee or you should treat that I'm there. So how the auditors work together harmoniously is what we need to see. So those situations are very, very common, very, very common. Okay. So thank you once again, and thanks to this.
Thank you, Mr. Vijay Kumar. So passionately driving this entire session. May I request Group Captain Vijay Kumar, Mr. T.G. Suresh, and Mr. Gopal Desikan to come and present a memento to Mr. Vijay Kumar, please. I think he's kept us the interest alive, even though, you know, it's lunchtime. So I think we should give it up to him. Lovely, lovely. And there's one, one more memento from PKS. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That was end of session 3, and we are now ready to break for lunch. So we have to be back at 1:55. I'm sure you'll enjoy a good lunch that has been spread out for you. Please enjoy your lunch. Thank you so much. Let's be back at 1:55.